the Southern Soul pregame concert on the Chevy main stage. Then Grambling State versus Prairie View A&M. The halftime show, world-famed, versus the Marching Storm. And the post-game concert, TLC, at State Fair Classic. Tickets at Ticketmaster and all usual ticket outlets.
All right, everybody. You're listening live to the HBCU Coaches Corner. I'm Rocky, your co-host, along with my fellow co-host, Mr. Steve Campbell, the detective, the bishop. All things that? HBCU. Absolutely. Mr. Campbell, Coach Cole let me know that he was going to be a little late, and Mr. Symonds is on the way, so we might as well get this party started right, get this party started quickly.
Yes, sir.
And just as we jump on, the man of the hour is confirmed that he's in. So, but I did want to talk to you for a minute, Campbell, as we close this week out and kind of set this next week up. And we'll go into detail after we have an interview with Mr. Symonds, Coach. Let me ask you this, Mr. Campbell. Would this be the biggest weekend of the season?
Well, let me say this. I said the first week was one of the biggest weeks because of what it meant for so many teams, right? I think this is one of those inflection points because I haven't seen the rest of it, because I think around Magic City Cloud, I think some big games around that time too. But what this does is a table set weekend, because you're talking about playing rivals. You're talking about teams that are playing in division. And once again, you beat a team that's basically pushed you 2 up. So again, you're talking about Prairie View and Grambling. That's a big game. Whoever gets that, 2 up basically. For AMU and Alabama State, 2 up. For Southern, because of the road they got to travel, that Jack State game is basically can put them in a situation where they could actually almost win majority of the game, but because that game could keep them out of the West title. So these are the type of games that we want to see. These are games that I think people are excited to talk about, but this is just one of those pivotal weekends. And I'll tell you again, another sneaky game, or 2 actually, that I think are very important just for the psyche of the coaches and the teams is Texas Southern against Mississippi Valley and Alabama A&M versus Bethune-Cookman. Because if you look at Bethune-Cookman, you don't want to go down, because now you're going to start having people talking about those U-Haul trucks and stuff like that if you're Bethune-Cookman. Now, with our guy T-Buck and, like I said, Chris Dishman come on the show, big game for Texas Southern. They got to win that game. They're 0-3. Mississippi Valley's 0-3. But there was 2 different 0-3s to me. You had a heartbreaking loss to Texas. You had Valley playing really hard against Southern. So you've seen some progress and stuff like that. They had to play Charleston. That's just a tough game. That's a wash. But this is one of those games that I think that Terrell Buckley's like, hey, guys, this is a team that we should be equal to. Now, we might believe that Texas Southern has more talent, which I do. But Coach Buckley's not going to believe that. He's going to look at it and say, how we play. If we execute, we can win this game at home.
No doubt, Coach. I was looking through the schedule, and you know that before the season started, I went through a deep dive over everybody's schedule. And I said, this week and October 25th, those would be very much some weekends that things will kind of sort themselves out, using those 2 weekends to kind of and it's funny, Mr. Campbell, is that, to be honest with you, the season by and large will be decided in these next 5 weeks. Absolutely. Coming up, because we have all of our pivotal games happening in these next 5 weeks, and so it should be an amazing week of viewing for our HBCU fans. And with that being said, I think it's time for us to introduce our guest. This is somebody that is not a stranger to the HBCU ecosystem. This is somebody who has been in sports media for the better part of 40 years and is a true pioneer in Black sports media production. Somebody who is a person who is responsible for bringing HBCU football to network or cable TV. With no further ado, I'd like to bring up this president of HBCU GO, none other than Mr. Curtis Symonds.
Rock, how you doing today, man? You doing all right? Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. John's doing his thing as usual. You guys doing a good thing, man. I was just sitting in the background, listen to the rumbles. It sounded good. You know, those kind of conversations I love because it helps get more people excited about what we're trying to do on every Saturday. So you guys are right there in the mix, man. So it sounded good.
Absolutely. Mr. Symonds, I was looking over your bio to see how you've impacted this sports. And I was interested to find out that you're from Bermuda.
Yep.
And so with being Bermudan, what drew you to American football?
Well, in fact, that's a good point you're making, Rock. You know, for me, I came over very young to the United States when I was 2 years old. So I did not get a chance to really enjoy Bermuda until I got older. And that was how I actually was brought into the American football and not soccer. Okay. That's how it happened. So really, I credit my mother who was at Central State University. Physical education teacher, was there for 40 years. My father worked in the maintenance department for 50 years. So I grew up on the campus of Central State University. So that's how I got my tutelage of American football and learned the best of the best. That's how it happened.
Now, Mr. Symonds, now of course, I watched BET growing up. I definitely saw those games on BET. I knew the household brand at that point, which was Grambling. I had heard of schools like Jackson State and Morgan State and things like that. But what I want to ask you, I want to get into it is, what got you guys involved in bringing, and what made you think HBCU football will work on cable TV?
Well, I think, Rock, I go back to my early days. I was at ESPN for 8 years before I came to BET. And so I was there on the grind when ESPN was coming up and trying to make a difference in 24-hour sports. So I saw there that there was opportunity in sports for Black college sports at that point in time. The problem was at BET, we were too early. You know, when I was there from 88 to 2001, I was there 14 years. We just couldn't make a difference at that time in the advertising circle because of the fact that, you know, no one really took Black college sports as serious as it should be taken. And we're still fighting the battle. We're still fighting. It really hasn't gotten to where we've made some inroads, but it's still a long ways away from the money that should be supporting these universities and us at the end of the day. But that was my first start of seeing some of the greats that had played in the game, the Jerry Rice, the Walter Paytons, and others that came up through that tutelage at that time and showed the world that, you know, there was a new era of football called HBCU college football. And it allowed people to begin to start opening the doors. Because if you look at the early 60s now and what the pattern was that, you know, PWIs were not even looking at having more Black athletes in their teams as it is today. And that's one of the big headaches for HBCUs because it's not looked at as the real stomping ground it should be looked at. It's looked at, well, it's like stepping down to the G League, you know, and seeing whether or not I can compete in football, where really you got some great athletes in the HBCU circle. And it's beginning now, the lack thereof of exposure has been the backwards word that has really hurt the HBCU circle. And so that's what made me, when I left BET in 2001, I started thinking very hard, like, you know, there's no one out there giving exposure to Black college sports. ESPN does it, but they, you know, come out of that thread. So they don't do it the way it should be done. So I said, if I could create a channel that can help show the culture, the entertainment, the lifestyle, the history, the legacy of Black college sports, that will start making a difference. And in 4 years, through the Allen Media Group being partnered with Byron Allen, we begin to start making some inroads. You look at, in 4 years, we have now won 6 Telly Awards, which I think is incredible. And we've been up. We had a kickoff show. We weren't able to have it this year. Hope to have it back next year. That will rival game day. And we'll start really bringing in, the atmosphere that should be shown to support Black college sports. And I think the other thing that Rock would really try to make a difference, man, and this is one thing I fought when I was at BT, is that we don't look at ourselves as Black college football. We look at it as programming. When people looked at BT, they would say, how do you get Black entertainment television? I said, no, it ain't Black entertainment television. It's programming. It's entertainment. The same way we've been preaching to, push HBCU GO sports. It's good programming. And, you look at what we did last weekend with the Howard Hampton game in D.C., the Alabama State game, Edgewater, the Thune-Cookman game last weekend in Florida, good football, and it's growing, It's just like I heard you and Mr. Campbell talking when I was coming on. The rivalries are just growing. They're getting better and better, and the games are getting better and better and better. And you're also attracting good talent. And I think coaches out there, when you got more and more NFL guys coming in and want to coach these young men and really try to take them to the next level, that's a good first step. I had a big meeting today with the NFL, because I'm trying to now, take it to another step and partner with the NFL to grow HBCU GO. We did a simulcast this year with NFL Networks with the Hall of Fame game. They drew 200,000 viewers.
Wow.
That was a major win for NFL Network. They had never had that kind of numbers, And so if we can begin to provide that kind of exposure, hopefully we won't keep seeing the NFL drafting one guy out of HBCUs. We all know, sitting on this thread right here today, that there is quality players that can play in the NFL and should be drafted, but they don't have that exposure that really gets them out there to where the scouts and others pay a lot more attention to not just the name, but the player, and that's one thing that, hopefully we can push out harder and harder and try to grow that.
Now, Mr. Symonds, I want to give our audience a chance to welcome our featured host, which is the SWAC legend himself, Johnnie Cole.
No
and so as he come on here, he's very timely person. He just happened to have a conflict, and I just wanted to, but I did let the audience know he would be running a little behind.
Well, Rocky, you got to understand, when a man lives in Arizona, it's kind of hard to have time to be on a thread like us. He might have been on the golf course. Don't let Johnny fool you. He might have been on the golf course. It's nighttime in his area.
Yeah, they got way more daylight than I do.
You got that
over here,
and it's very good and warm. So you never know.
Man, hey, see, they don't understand, Kurt. This family here, this Central State Marauders,
ain't no question. Ain't no question.
Mr. Symonds, let me ask you a question, because this is something about and you can go back to your, back to the days where you worked with ESPN and BET, and even now that working with HBCU GO. One of the things I think that ESPN did with their programming was ESPN did with their programming was they built up programming around their college broadcast of football games and their NFL broadcast of football games. Mm-hmm. Like what they did, I think, is they built shows that could feature those games during the week. We know the games were on the weekend, but they had NFL Live, they had college sports game day, and all these anchor shows that could be viewed probably more than once a week, or even bookend around the broadcast of the game.
Right.
In your opinion, do you think that's something that the HBCU product could benefit from, kind of extending and expanding the conversation around the games and the pageantry that happens around the game, and essentially increase the popularity of the sport.
Well, I think you're right on point on that, right? That's a very good point you're making. I think that as I was saying earlier, I had this meeting with the NFL, Troy Vincent and his team today. I think that one of the things that we have to do a better job, including HBCU GO, is learn to market the product better. For us, we do the games on Saturday, and Johnny was part of my TV, was part of my announcers last year. And one of the things that we don't do enough of is promote the product well, Monday through Friday. We have made it to the point where it becomes a silo event, at the end of the day. Now, what we're beginning to do is been taking time. We're trying to build up on it. We still got a long way to go. We treat Saturday as our Super Bowl, so we're doing everything we can on Saturday to deliver the best product we can. And let me just say this. I felt very good with Byron Allen when we first started this thing, because one of the things I told him when we partnered up was that, and when he bought my network, was that, listen, we have one shot. If we don't deliver a quality product, people are not going to stay around. And so in our first year, we delivered a good product. Second year, we took it up another notch. Better people, better producers, better announcers. The third year, we worked hard. We worked hard on the brand. This year, we wanted to increase what we were doing, more classics, more homecomings, more rivalries, and begin to start building the brand inside that. Now, to your point, we've got to build some shoulder programming around it so that we can really grow the atmosphere of what Black college sports is all about, and not just leave it at one day, which that's what's been the headache in Black college sports, is that it's limited to one day, that Saturday, and so if we can get that support from the advertising community to step up and give us that advertising dollar to allow us to do more shoulder type program and other things like you're talking about, that's going to be the difference. And we're slowly but surely getting there. So, yes, I think there's a lot of room for it. I mean, it's to the point, I'll tell you guys something that we're working on. I mean, I'm going over, I didn't even know this. Our sales team is bringing me in on this, but there's a big international sports conference called Sportstown over in Monaco, October 20th through the 22nd. And one of my guys that's heading up our international division has been cluing me in already for meetings in October. But already we're getting some good interest international. We got a group out of Nigeria that wants to take HBCU GO and start airing that on their platform in Nigeria. That's 220 million homes.
Wow.
So if we can start spreading that word internationally, which that's what the NFL has done a great job of doing, and ESPN has done the same too, it will really start, I think, opening more doors, to start getting people to really start saying, what is this HBCU sports that's going on? I like what it is. And, I think one of the things that I credit the teams that they have improved themselves, it was always known for the entertainment of the bands, but now the product's gotten better. The football's gotten better. So that's another step forward with the bands to really make the product a good product at the end of the day. I think that's one of the things that bringing some of the NFL coaches in, I think looking at the presidents are starting to get more serious on the athletic side. I think you're going to see a few good things down the road that's going to intensify the sport.
Go ahead, Mr. Campbell. I know you probably have something you, as our HBCU historian.
Well, I like Mr. Campbell's banner. You got a good banner back.
See. Now, Mr. Simon, I don't know if you remember, you and I talked maybe about a month ago about an idea I had, and we talked, and you made reference. I told you that my father worked at WOK with Charlie Neal.
Yes. Thank you.
So, I appreciate you being on, and one of the things I wanted to represent, because this is a prideful moment, because again, looking at the through line of Charlie Neal and seeing your legacy and what you brought. So I wanted to start with, when you started, you said something that I think a lot of people give them credit for, the level of quality that the broadcasts are. And again, I know this, people say this is kind of a joke. I know that's, you understood, but we've seen other networks where the quality is not the same. Was that something when Byron Allen brought you in? Was that something that you stood on the table saying, if we're going to do this, we have to have this high level of quality that matches ESPN, Fox, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera?
No question. I mean, that was one of the first things when I sold my network to Byron 4 years ago. That was the first thing that I put heavy duty on. When I was able to get a 10-year deal with the SWAC, 10-year deal with CIAA, 10-year deal with SIAC, I wanted to make sure we delivered the best of the best. I wanted people to leave their TVs and say, this is a great product, and they are really put. And really, I applaud my team. I've got, Johnny knows, he's been around me, so he's worked with my team, and my team really is buttoned up. And I was fortunate because I have, at least 4 to 5 people who work with me at BT, and so they know the way I grind, and they grind just like me, So we have been able to really build out. I mean, to the point, last weekend before last, when we did the New York Classic, you had Morehouse and Howard. Here we are setting up one truck at the stadium. CBS was there because they had the Sunday game with the Jets and the Bills. They had 3 trucks set up to do the game on Sunday. CBS did. Okay. So I met a gentleman from CBS. They let me walk through the truck, and I got in conversation with a guy who knew of me, and we talked. He called me on Monday and said, "Hey, Mr. Symonds, I got to give you credit, man. I watched your game on Saturday, and I'm gonna tell you, you're right up there with us. I mean, the quality, the way you guys handle things, the way your field work was done, it was top notch, man. I just got to give you credit." And that was a great feeling. That was a great feeling coming from someone who had been at CBS for over 15 years. To know that we're in that range, that we're really being ready. And I got to tell you, because, like Rock was saying earlier, with my experience in the media business and from the ESPN, the BT Life, I have a lot of people watching the network from other networks. I want to know what I'm doing next, what I got going on next. Because everyone knows whatever I've been a part of, I'm a grinder. So I'm gonna make it work some kind of way. And I think that we have done a tremendous job through my team of really starting to rise the level. And Johnny can tell you when he introduced how he felt. I'm sorry we didn't get Johnny to get some games this year, but we're gonna work on that. But the fact of it is that the quality is important. The quality is important, and so yes, we work very hard on trying to be the best of the best out there.
Well, you've always been a person of innovation and marketing. I heard that you're talking about how can you expand it when more people watch. Have you talked to the commissioners of the various athletic associations where potentially, because I think one of the greatest things when I see HBCU go is that alumni, I like to say, are still in the game. They're able to watch the game because, hey, I'm in Chicago, I can't get to Jackson. Hey, I'm in Washington, D.C., I can't get to Tallahassee, a big game in Tallahassee. Have you talked to the commissioner where maybe there's some synergies where you can work directly with alumni associations, where there are viewing parties, where there is programming on the big boards at the games and things like that? Has there been any thought? Because I think there's an opportunity, because these watch parties have now become a big thing where they'll go, to a sports bar because they're able to watch it on HBCU GO, because now it's on the channel. You don't have to listen to a radio or internet broadcast. Have you ever thought about maybe using those type of avenues to expand it?
We're definitely on that. I have a young lady by the name of Shannon Henderson. She's my campus engagement person. And her job over the last 4 years, she's done a tremendous job as one person, is to work with those kind of ideas. In fact, when we did the first game with Hampton and Jackson State, Hampton created, these watch parties. They had all the students come out to the stadium and shot it and did a watch party in the stadium, through also their alumni group. through different areas. And we're seeing that happen in other places. I think you're going to see a big pop when we do the Jackson State Grambling game, the Las Vegas Classic, October 25th, where I think there's going to be a lot of that you're talking about happening across the country, because, I think it's a good ride to Vegas. I'm hoping people come. They keep telling me tickets are going very good there. But I think, to your point, we're trying to develop a lot of that with the alumni chapters. I mean, we're working with United Native College Fund, working with Thurgood Marshall. We're working with every group we get our hands on to do different things to try to get more butts in the seats. I mean, that's my goal. My goal is I just asked at the Howard Hampton game. We had a luncheon or breakfast rather before the game, and so President Williams from Hampton brought to the breakfast a lot of Hampton students. So I had 3 or 4 of them in a group. I said, let me ask you a question. I've been really trying to work on this on the Gen Zs. What does it take? I mean, and I look at PWI games, the students are breaking their necks to come into the game. Okay. But when you go to HBCUs, you don't see the student base like it is at the PWIs. Why is that? One of the young men gave me a great idea, that I'm going to try to push out some more. He said, Mr. Symonds, one of the things that I think should happen is, the school doesn't promote the games internally enough.
100%.
So, they don't have like a social page that just focuses on promoting the event and coming up with ideas to draw the Gen Zs into the stadiums. So he said that's one of the areas I would say. And then, the other thing is for the Gen Z is try to make it more entertaining flowing, around the game, So I think that's one of the things that we got to continue to work hard because, and I was a victim of it for many years at Central State. Johnny can tell you, I graduated in 78. I haven't missed a homecoming because I grew up on the campus. I haven't missed a homecoming. I'm 70 now, probably in 50 years. I've been there. How many games have I been inside of? Even when I was at school. It's a good question. Good question.
I will say one thing, and I'm gonna turn. But you just hit something. One of the things when you look at and the SWAC, I'm gonna use the SWAC and SEC because it's funny the dynamic how the SEC rolls based off the SWAC's back because they basically took our athletes.
No question.
But one of the things with the SEC that I think, because I'm a SWAC kid, grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Saw the greatest players. I've seen every great player that come through the SWAC and the MEAC.
Gotcha.
But one of the things that I think that we have done a poor job with the Gen Z, we don't teach them how to be fans of the football game.
Bottom line.
So when you go to Alabama, what when they play Tennessee, that third Saturday in October, it means something. Those kids understand the history of that. They understand what that is. When Ole Miss and LSU play, they understand Billy Cannon running on Halloween night. Those are things that are key in mind. We don't do that at FAMU. We got Bullet Bob Hayes. Are we talking about those great games that he's played against Summer Rival or Jackson State against Walter Payton, playing against Southern? I mean, these are things that are historic, that are huge games that we don't, as they say, we don't train our students. So if I come to the game, I don't understand the magnitude of a Jackson State and Southern. I don't understand the magnitude of an Alabama State and which is going to be on your channel in Florida A&M. Right. So I just think that I'm so glad because I see the disconnect of these students not understand the magnitude of these great games that they're showing on your network.
Well, I think you just hit it right down the nose. I mean, I rise students every day about not knowing your history, the lack thereof of understanding the greatness of what HBCUs are all about. Not just on the football field, but just at HBCU in general. And the fact that what HBCU does to mold you into the person you are today. And I take a lot of credit to Central State, who molded me into the guy I am today, and they did a lot for me to make me understand, what I needed to do to be better as an individual, and I play basketball Central, but at the end of the day, to your point, and you make a great point that they don't understand that. And we don't do a good job of really educating these young people on why they should be coming to the games. That's a major, major headache that I'm working on. I mean, I ride every commissioner that you got to help me drive butts in the seats at every game. Really for me. And see, one thing that, even when I was at BT, years ago. I'll never forget. I'll tell you this quick story, and then we can move on. You know, we had when I came to BT in '88, Bob Johnson was putting on games 2 weeks. We had a 2-week delay in the games. We weren't doing live football at that time. I finally convinced him to do live football in '89, and so we had to deal with SWAC. So we had a game with Eddie Robinson in Grambling. The commissioner of the SWAC at that time did not tell Eddie the game was going to be live coming out of Grambling. Our trucks show up at the game on Friday, and Eddie's losing his mind. He's like, "Oh, you not coming in here with this truck and airing my game on BET? That's not happening. I'm the live game hurts my gate. You're not," and that's a bad mentality. But that's been a lot of our mentality in the Black community. You know, live TV keeps people away. Like, no, what are you talking about?
Mr. Simon.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick break because I want to talk about this. And this is a great moment for us to take a break and talk about this on the other side of this break. And because everybody watching on the Off Script channel, I want to thank you. We're going to suspend the broadcast on the Off Script channel right after this message.
This year, we're keeping it 100. The 100th Anniversary State Fair Classic, Saturday, September 27th at the world's largest fair. Enjoy the Southern Soul pregame concert on the Chevy main stage. Then Grambling State versus Prairie View A&M. The halftime show, world famed, versus the Marching Storm. And the postgame concert, TLC, at State Fair Classic. Tickets at Ticketmaster and all usual ticket outlets.
All right, Mr. Symonds, I want to thank you for allowing us to take that pause and continue this conversation because the reason why this is so interesting, the promoter of this particular of the last match often talk when he was talking about historically, he believed that the television affected the gate. I disagree with him in this regard because I believe that PWIs have used television to enhance the in-game experience.
Yes.
And I'd like to get your thoughts on that, and maybe you have more examples of how they've used the television to enhance the in-game experience. Is that me, or is he froze on your end too?
Yeah, he's froze. That's what he's frozen. Yeah, yep. Looks like he's coming back.
Yeah, it looks like he's coming back. He may have just had him.
Am I there? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm in my office, and sometimes it jams up on me. You know, so
Look, you're good, Mr. Simon. We hear you just fine.
I froze again.
Yeah. But it looks like you're back now.
Hold on. Keith, stay with me. Let me move out of this office. Go into my living room real quick and see if that helps me out a little bit, because my internet acts stupid a lot of times. At times, bear with me.
No, you're fine, Mr. Simon. But Mr. Campbell, we heard that notion from.
I want to jump on that point because again, as we talk about a mentality, and again, somebody who was at FAMU when Florida State and Miami and Florida were their superpowers. When CBS rolled in there, you knew that was a big game.
Right.
You knew that was a big game, which made even more people, when they said this is a TV game, basketball, you look at Duke and North Carolina, when they say that's a TV game, that made it where you know this game is important. So Mr. Simon, I know he's going to say that. They're not showing games that are not important.
So I think Mr. Campbell, you're right on the point. You know what I mean? It's that we have not educated. Now, we're beginning to start getting there. I think with HBCU GO, you know, we're beginning to start educating people on the value more of TV, because we're bringing it right there. And back to your point early on is that, you know, when you look at us, we have a syndicated package, which is on local broadcasts all over the country. You know, in 95% of television households, 92% African-American households. You're talking about now being able to see Black college sports in Wyoming, San Diego, Colorado, all over the United States. and on the Armed Forces Network. So now you're everywhere. Then we have a cable side, which a lot of that is done with our Grill channel and our OTT channel with HBCU GO. So there's no way to miss it. And the one thing that I drove very hard at the beginning with Byron is that, people know our destination. They know we got a 1 o'clock game, we got a 3 o'clock game, or 4 o'clock game. It's not like I'm flipping around the TV trying to figure out, well, where is it at? What time does it come on? What we doing? And we're free. You ain't got to go through a paywall to get to us.
That's amazing.
And that to me is a big plus, and it's beginning now to start to pay off the benefits because more and more people are starting to really see us. And when you look at the one bad part about HBCU GO right now is that we're not a rated service, but what our social is starting to show us is how many unique visitors are coming to watching the network and the minutes that they're spending, which has grown from 6,000, unique visitors now to spending like over 2 million minutes of viewing. That's a lot of television on a Saturday. A lot of television on a Saturday at the end of the day. So we know we're slowly getting that grind, but to, Rock and Mr. Campbell's point, we still got to figure out a better way to drive it. We got to continue to drive it. Al, in your video that you just showed, I had to box it out. Al was like telling me, no, Curtis, we can't do that. I said, Al, look, you're putting 53,000 people in the stadium, okay? I'm adding on another, 10 million plus viewers. That's a great way to get your nose out there at the end of the day. And more people from across the board are going to want to see it. And so, when I was at BT, one of the classes that I really helped build and saw, and I was able to convince them the story, was Circle City Classic in Indianapolis. Now, you talk about a classic that you're in Indianapolis, you bring in SWAC teams, CIAA teams, and you're drawing 60 to 65,000 people every year for like 10 years when we were doing the game. Okay. I mean, that was, people knew the first Saturday of October, that game was alive. And Reverend Charles Williams, God bless him, he's passed away now, but he did a hell of a job marketing that game to where he built that game up so good, it was second in revenue to the Indianapolis 500, which is the gigantic thing in Indianapolis. Second in revenue. Because black folks came in there, and see, that's the one thing that we underestimate how much we bring to the table. We spend money. We spend money everywhere we go. And it's sad because we come in the market and we're blowing the market out 9 times out of 10. Hotels, restaurants, they're not ready for us, because we come in there spending some money. So if we can continue to try to drive that point on destinations and get it better, bigger and better, I think it's going to help grow the product. And I think the product is really getting better. I mean, the Hampton Howard game we had Saturday, Audi Stadium, a soccer field stadium, 22,000. That's the kind of stadium you should be doing the games in. We put 18,000 in there. Okay, that made it look like a real football game. It wasn't MetLife like the week before with 85,000 and they get 20,000 in there, where it looked like it was ants in there the whole day. Great game at the beginning, but it didn't make it look like it was the real football should look like at the end of the day. So we got a ways to go, but I think we're slowly but surely climbing the tree. Let's put it that way.
Mr. Simon, let me ask you this. It seemed to me, and I hate to compare PWIs, but that's the only comparison I can go with.
You have to.
Is that the television companies and the conferences, they kind of work together to build the sport that it is today, especially when you talk about football. The SEC worked directly with ESPN and CBS to create and make the sport what it is today.
Right.
What's been the struggle of a company like yours and BET and any other broadcaster, what's been the struggle working with a HBCU conference and them giving y'all the access y'all need to really build the sport up?
Well, it goes back to, the vision. And I do credit Charles McClellan, SWAC chairman, Jackie McWilliams of CIAA, Anthony Holloman over at SIAC, who understand the vision. In today's world, to get a 10-year deal with anyone is unheard of, but they saw the vision of where I'm trying to go. And they're seeing the benefits out of it now because we're expanding their brand all over the country, and that's what it wasn't done before. See, when you look at the history of Black college sports, even with BET, we came in, the product wasn't where it should have been. We sold the commissions on, hey, we're in it for the long haul, and boom, we're out. Okay, left them hanging. So they've been fighting for years to try to get their brand the way it should be. That's why there's been more and more classics across the country. Because classics are going to pay them for coming in, and the fact that they feel that they get that exposure they're looking for in the local markets. But really, now everybody's understanding, you need television around you. You need to draw the eyeballs, and people will come to the stadiums because of it. You need to really understand how to grow the brands. You got to spend some time educating people on the brands and how good they can be. And now that door started to swing. And now it started to swing is teaching advertisers the value of being in bed with these conferences at HBCU GO, which wasn't there when I was at BT. And it's still a struggle. I mean, when I walk into an ad agency still today, I got to educate them on HBCUs. Well, they've heard about the Jerry Rices, the Walter Paytons, the big names who've gone on and had a great successful life in the NFL, but they don't know the 107. They don't know the 107. They don't know all the football conferences real well. So you got to educate them on what these conferences bring to the table, and they are starting to open their doors because majority of advertisers understand that these Gen Z kids spend money, and they want to figure out how to get in their pockets, So if they can get on a network like HBCU GO and be able to expand, the HBCU word through their companies and their brands, they're going to try. So it's a slow walk, but we're finally starting to open the doors somewhere and starting to make people appreciate what we bring to the table. When you have Procter & Gamble as a presenting sponsor of Truth and Services last week in DC, and his top executive from Procter & Gamble shows up and sees the show, and he's like, Curtis, this is unbelievable. And his son went to Howard, but until you get people on the ground floor to see it and feel it, then they start saying, whoa, well, this is better than Curtis just sitting across the table talking to me about it. Now I can feel the atmosphere. Now I know why he, when he comes in, his passion is so hard when he comes in the door, because it's there. It's just we got to keep telling the story every time we knock on the door.
Mr. Simon, I'm not necessarily an HBCU guy, but in the last 5 to 6 years with Dion, I've really gotten into it and really understood how special HBCU sports and culture truly is. One of the issues that I find where almost like a gap in the marketplace is there are not enough people in media, corporate media, invested in telling our stories of HBCU football and other sports. Nowadays, the conversation around HBCU sports and the telling of the stories is largely done on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. What do you see as a means of kind of harvesting the content, the talent, and trying to create a place where the conversations are centralized or being held all in one place, the way that ESPN has those conversations around the NFL and the SEC and other those things. How do you create programming that kind of centralize that conversation when you have all of these content creators in the marketplace kind of holding up the conversation, but we really don't have access to the SWAC, MEAC in the same way that other media outlets do, to really tell the stories that I think will enhance and grow and build and share the product.
I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and that's why one of the things I'm working very hard on with my team is to create some dollars that would create some shoulder programming to tell the stories you're talking about. And that was one of the reasons why I had the meeting with the NFL. I mean, one of the things that we have been able to crack the egg now with the NFL, to your point, is, not only did we simulcast this game, the Hall of Fame game in August, but the NFL had a lot of HBCU programming just sitting in the vault that they weren't doing anything, one-time show and gone. So now they have agreed to give us that programming on HBCU GO to start airing, which they giving us a nice little rack of programming that's going to help us get out the door. I think the other thing, to your point, and you're right on point, is that my goal within the next 2 years is to get me somebody to start helping me underwrite some docs, some short stories, some shoulder programming around HBCUs. There is so much of it, it's out the door. It's just really out the door. If you spend time in each and every school, the history, the plethora of things that these schools bring to the table, from an athlete side to a politician, an educator, across the board. There's a lot of that there, that are special stories. And like with the NFL today, they were saying to me, Troy Vincent was saying, let's work together and start telling better stories of some of these NFL players who are now, coaching in the HBCU circle. No one's done anything for Terrell Buckley down in Mississippi Valley. No one's told his story. And Terrell Buckley's got one hell of a story. When you look at how he played in the NFL, he's come to Mississippi Valley where it needs a good, fresh breath of air. He's going to walk the walk, talk the talk, and he's going to bring something special to the table.
And Mr. Symonds, not to cut you off, we actually told the story of Terrell.
That's great. That's great.
I hate to say it, but that's great. We did. This was one of his first major interviews right here on HBCU Coaches Corner.
Hats off to you. I think you guys did a great job. That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. But those are the kind of stories that are out there that I think that, the more that we can start pinpointing those and grow on those, is going to help the HBCU circle all the way around. And I think, but again, it's the dollar figures, because, like you just said, you guys did it. I never heard of it because, you do a podcast. It's different between a podcast and a network.
Yes, absolutely.
So I applaud you for doing it because someone need to do something, and at least you guys stepped up and did something, which I applaud that, to do it. But I think also he deserves to be on a bigger level at the end of the day, too. So that's the only thing I'm saying on what I'm trying to say. But I applaud you guys for taking the first leg of it and at least saying no one else is doing it, so why not put it on the podcast? Why not put it on our show, which you guys did, which was great, and I hope you can do some more of that. I think the more and more we can get shows like you guys doing more of your podcast, talking about different things, and then complementing that with some network stuff on top of it, is going to help the HBCU circle at the end of the day. I mean, you look at Pat McAfee, what he's done at ESPN, okay? I mean, it's what you guys are doing, but he got a network behind it. And it's no different. You guys are doing a great job, but he got a network behind it. If HBCU GO was able to put this show on HBCU GO, it'd be a different thing for you guys, and I'm hoping maybe one day we can get there, where you can showcase your show on a network and talk about the history that you three bring to the table that people don't see. Right. Steve, they don't have nothing on you guys. He just got a network. That's all. That's all he's got. That's all he's got. That's the difference. You know, he was a writer. He was able to take his writing skills to a network, and they turned him into a phenom. You know, that's all that happened. You know, say what you guys are doing here right now. I mean, you're spending time out of your day to talk to me, but at the end of the day, you know, you're looking like anybody else looking. It's what's the bigger door for us down the road?
Absolutely.
We like to grow our podcast.
Mr. Simon, I want to, and again, Coach, I apologize, Coach Cole, but I want to bring up, because he's bringing up, I want to talk about something that you've done where I think is one of the most incredible things. One of the failure points of other networks that show HBCU sports. If I go to CBS, the voice of the SEC was Vern Lundquist. Right. Before that, you had Brett. When Brett Musburger came on, this is Brett Musburger, and this is CBS, and we're in Miami, Florida against Florida State. You're
live in Miami, Florida.
Live in Miami, Florida.
Right.
But what you did, you brought the preeminent voice of Charlie Neal. And what I have seen, and to me, the most disappointing thing is when I watch other networks that don't need to be named, is the people that are broadcasting the game, other than Tiffany and Jay, have no clue of the teams that they're calling. Which brings the value down compared to when I see Charlie Neal and the other young man that you have that does color. Again, amazing, that knows the history, that understand, because once again, and Mr. Simon, you know this, a broadcast is a story. You're telling a story. It's not just the X's and O's. You have to set up stories of, hey, this kid is from here. He's been here. Trials and tribulations that I think that the Brett Musburger and Verlin and Charlie Neal have been able to do. Is that something that when you brought Charlie on that was very important to have that storytelling aspect to give it that level and that quality?
Oh, no question. No question. You know, not having Charlie would not have made the network where it is today. You know, I mean, Charlie is the breath of black college sports. No question. I mean, I was last weekend in DC here. I hate to tell the story, but I'm gonna tell you this story. I was in the restroom, and I'm walking out of the restroom, and the playback official, one of the playback officials, was in there with me. So he's walking out. And he said, "Wait a minute, you work with HBCU GO?" I said, "Yeah, I'm the president of HBCU GO." Blah blah blah. He said, "Man, I was watching your network the other day, and I was watching that Florida A&M Classic game that you had with the 7 overtimes. And I did that game. I was there." Charlie. I said, "Well, I can believe it." He said, "Man, one of the most phenomenal games I have ever been a part of." You know, I said, "Was one of the best games that has the history of everything. We had that on BT years ago." Wow. And he said, "Man, if it wasn't for Charlie Neal and that voice and that history that he brought to the table, you know, and see, that's really, with Charlie coming in, it's helped legitimize, like Johnnie. Guys has been in the trenches. Guys that know, you know, Johnny's coach guys that he's seen, you know, the father or whatever is now that his son's playing. So Johnnie can relate to that. Charlie could go take you back to 1960 talking about football. You know? And I mean, give you a breakdown that you would never believe. And the most amazing thing about Charlie that blows me away is those stories you hear. He's not reading them off a card. That's out of his head. That's out of his head. That's just his homework. You know, he does extensive homework. And when he comes on that booth, you know, I call him, he's my John Madden. You know, he's my John Madden of black college sports, you know, because his knowledge and his tutelage, and we get more credit because of Charlie, because people say, you understand the culture when you televise the show. You don't just talk about the helmet. You talk about the history and what it took to get there. You know, from the coach's perspective, whoever's coaching, to the player perspective. You know, and even in some of the officials, he knows the majority of them. You know, so
you know, Coach, you know, Mr. Simon, there was a moment last year that I was watching the HBCU GO game, and this broadcaster used this telestrator. Mm-hmm. And you said John Madden, and it reminded me of how John Madden would use that telestrator. And that's when I realized y'all production was at a level, y'all were capable of doing anything related to broadcasting football. And it wasn't a black thing. Because that telestrator, when I saw, and I'm going to give him his credit, Johnnie Cole operate that telestrator and draw up those plays.
Yep.
Was absolutely sensational. And at that point, he was coaching right there on TV to all the people that was watching that broadcast. And I was blown away with it. And that's what, when you get a guy like Coach Cole involved in the broadcasting of it, that's what you get. Somebody not only knows the game, but also can break down the technical aspects of, for us football junkies who really love the game, man, to see him tell it straight and watch it unfold right there before your eyes was absolutely phenomenal. And like I say, I appreciate that because that's something that you don't get when you watch these streamed games or something like that. That only comes in a real broadcast.
Well, I mean, Johnny can tell you, Johnny's part of our family, and so, I mean, one of the things that we had to educate the last couple of years in the HBCU circle is what we bring to the campuses. They were so used to ESPN rolling into the stadium with like maybe a van and 6 cameras. Here we come in with a tractor trailer, which is going to take some space up. And when we're showing that tractor trailer, a lot of these schools weren't prepared for it. I mean, we had to educate the schools on what we were bringing to the table because they hadn't seen that before. They was, ESPN's been here, and all they brought in was a little van and 6 cameras, and they were good. Well, no, we weren't bringing that in. We're bringing in a true production truck that houses, X amount of people. And we're doing 8, 9 cameras up in here, and we got to build platforms. We got to do this. We got to do that. I mean, we're going full out. Yeah. And so when people started understanding, the AD started understanding what we bring to the table, that's now what you see now is you have more and more schools crying to be on HBCU GO. Yeah. Crying. Yeah. Jackson State, we could never get Jackson State when we first started because ESPN still had a big deal with the SWAC. And every time we got close to getting the SWAC game, when Prime was there, ESPN would walk in the back door and say, no, we're doing the game. And they had the first option. We were the second option. So we never could touch it. So TC was like, when Prime left, he was all over me about, when are you guys going to do a Jackson State game? When are you going to do a Jackson State game? I said, look, man, I'm trying. And finally, through the help of the conference, we were able to get Jack State on there. And I always kid TC down and said, well, Prime didn't win the Celebration Bowl. You did. So you got a leg up, brother. So you just as valuable to me as Prime as the ESPN at the end of the day, But that's where I think is the education of the public eye of what we're trying to accomplish. Yeah. And I think it's slowly but surely, it shows like you guys are doing that we need more of. We need to continue to educate the public on the value of these games. I think personally, the Jackson State Grambling game in October is going to rival soon the Bayou Classic. Because I think Vegas is a great place to have people come through. It's going to have a crossover atmosphere, and I think they're going to draw some numbers. And I think it's going to be a good game, and it's going to make people open their eyes and say, "Well, wait a minute, we got another big game that's brewing around the country now." That people should start looking at, So I think that you'll see some eyeballs start to change, because of certain things that are happening out there.
Yeah.
And hopefully, go ahead.
I was going to sneak in here for a minute. First of all, of course, I work with 2 great guys, Curtis. Of course, when you all been talking about a team, I think I got a great team. I'm the coaching part of it, and they the technical part. So, but first I want to say thank you, Coach, for giving me one of my bucket lists of being a former head football coach and being the first Black college former football coach come from the field up to the box.
Oh, no question.
I appreciate that. And of course, we go way back with my family, my family and all that great stuff. One reason why I started this show was to give Black college football coaches exposure. And now we have also grown from there. One of the other things I thought, and you've been on it, and I've told them, many times about about these classics and what they are. And sometimes they ain't about the money. You know what I mean? It ain't about the money. You know, it's about the pageantry. It's about the history. You know, it's about the brand, the HBCU brand. Here's my question to you. Why can't, and I know it might be on your mind, that HBCU GO Sports can sit down at the table with and you said that everybody is on board, that we can't take the classic games, let the promoters promote them, let them make their money, because the money, I think that those 5 or 6 or 8 games that we can get that's going to draw 35, 40,000, 50,000, put it in a TV package and go sell it. And I know you were saying it's hard that to sell it, but man, we couldn't sell that to, you know, Cadillac, GMC. You know, I ain't saying we could get $1 billion, but we should be able to get some, you know, 100 millions off of that package. Why that can't happen?
I think it can happen. I think it can happen, Johnny. I think that it's got to be packaged right. Number one, that's number one. Number two, I think it's all about who's bringing it to the table, and we've shown that this year with the classics that we have this year. I mean, we've gone from 1 classic down to 5, you know, and I'm really excited about the Gulf Coast Classic we're doing in Mobile for Jackson State, Alabama A&M. That's gonna be a knockdown drag out, you know, at Mobile Stadium, you know, in Mobile. I think that we're getting close to going in that direction of what you're talking about. I think the other thing that I've been pushing the commissioners on, that I think, to your point, that I think we should really be looking at in across the board, is I'm trying to convince the commissioners to go to the NCAA and create a true Black college football championship and not have the SWAC MEAC. That's not the true Black college championship. You know, I think that, you know, when it comes in, if you bracket teams up, it comes into football against football. It ain't about Division I. It ain't about Division II. You know, it's football against football. And I think that somewhere down the road, we've got to develop, we've got to have that, you know, in football and basketball. And then we spread that out down the road. But I think that if we can get somebody to come to the table with the right dollar figure and put up a good dollar figure for the schools in the championship, I think it makes a lot of sense that these schools should look at it. And number one, it would help drive awareness. I think it would help drive the brand, because, you know, you get 12 teams out of 4 divisions, 2 out of each or whatever, 2 or 3 out of each, you know, and you play them in different sites. You know, you're going to draw some numbers because people are going to follow, you know, wherever these teams go. And I think you're going to really be able to drive a noise that has never been done before. And so that's one of my pushes that I think within a package down the road would also be attractive to what you were saying. But I think the class is something that, you know, we got to look at down the road.
Yeah, because you know, I've been in the circles. Well, I've been in probably 99% of all the classics.
Right.
And they were great during the day. I know that was a window that, you know, during our days, Bishop, that we had crowds every year. Even Valley had crowds.
Right.
I think we missed that window.
Yeah.
But I really feel that also, you know, we need to start, as you say, selling the brand, the HBCU brand, not necessarily each school. I think we get more together than apart.
Right.
Because
totally agree.
Right. You know, and it's just like the SEC and all these other, and that's why all these teams are jumping from one conference to the other. It's about the TV dollars.
Well, no question. That's the only reason. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't see why, you know, we can't do that, because we can't let them steal our schools. They already stole A&T and Hampton. You know, they already stole our schools because of the bans.
Right.
You know what I mean? We got to take advantage of what we have to sell what we have. And I just don't think we did we kind of letting that slide away if we don't come with the HBCU brand college football as a say just the SWAC or the MEAC or one school over the other. I think
Well,
it's got to be
I think you hit it right on the nose. I mean, it like when I was doing these 10-year deals, I had to convince the commissioners. Like I said, wait a minute. And I worked at ESPN for 8 years. I know how they function. I was one of the ones that brought HBCU sports to ESPN when I left. When I left and came back, they hired me as a consultant to help them out. So I knew the background very well. I kept telling the commissioners when I was first getting this thing going, it's like, look, how can you not support a black service that's trying to do something for black people? I don't get that. I mean, come on. Why are we not working together? Okay. I'm going to put you in millions and millions of homes. I'm going to get you exposure. All you're doing is living off a name of ESPN, the brand, who isn't doing much for you other than, showing up, put the camera up, doing the thing and out. That's it.
Ain't nobody there to tell our stories.
No,
nobody in the booth to tell the story.
Not at all.
Let me say this from the perspective of a fan. I believe the ESPN was doing the SWAC and the MEAC a disservice. Because before you guys came in the marketplace, there were a number of games that weren't even picked up, and you couldn't find the games at all unless they were being broadcast by the school.
Right.
And the reality, which was one thing that was very disheartening as a fan, is that once a school went to a neutral site game, it was almost impossible to find that game being streamed somewhere.
Bottom line, you're right, Rob. You're right. And the thing about it was that you don't have, down the road, I hope we're able to do a better job of it, but you don't have no highlights at all. You don't highlights at all. So you wouldn't know, to Rock's point, you wouldn't know how the game ended. You just kind of hear the score. And that was it. That was it. And so I think that, we're slowly, let's put it this way, we're slowly trying to change that mentality, by create a destination where you can find us every Saturday, B, creating more storylines down the road to improve the product, and C, trying to get out here and do a better job within the schools of marketing why it's important that, you bring this kind of product. See, I think to Johnny's point, I'm trying to convince the Tennessee States of the world to come back to HBCUs. Hampton, come back to HBCUs. A&T, come back to HBCUs. Quit playing the money game. We could build the money if we all get together. If we all get together in the pool now. You got a network. Like I told the NFL today. Use me as your marketing tool. You got a network that's got major distribution. The game is distribution. See, the one thing that a lot of people get caught up in, this is what muddied up the landscape of HBCU. People walk in the door, tell the commission, hey, I can film your game, I can do this and that. But where's it being seen? Nowhere. Nowhere. But the commissioners would run with it because they didn't know. And all they heard was they put them somewhere on television. But they were landing, at Mars, where nobody could see it. Now you got true destination.
I hope we can come together, man. Because I think together, like you said, Curtis, so pleasantly, that we stronger together.
Bottom line.
We need to stop selling the individual brand, the SWAC or the MEAC. We need to sell HBCU football or athletics and take that package to one of these big networks, and I guarantee you somebody would put some real money on
that work.
And we ain't got to change the promoters. Y'all promote. Give me your last 5-year stub of what you made. You got it. So get some $500 million contract, man, and be good. And all the money go to the schools.
I think that if we can get, I've got now 2 big brands that maybe might open that door a little wider for us. The NFL is talking about putting on HBCU games on NFL Network. NBA is talking about putting HBCU games on the NBA TV through HBCU GO. in both situations. If we can crack that egg, that'll be a major thing. That would be major if we can crack that egg. Okay.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Simon, because one of the things that I see as kind of being a issue for the conference. I'll just say for the conferences. Okay. Is that, and I don't know how the PWIs did it, but the finances behind broadcasting and building the product in and of itself, someone has to foot the bill for that, right? True. Someone has to foot the bill for that. Like with your program, you have by far the best broadcast of any HBCU game that's broadcasting current, right? Mm-hmm. Who can, whatever that dollar amount is to put that game on, your product is superior, but I'm going to be honest with you, Mr. Simon, the other 9 games that are broadcast all over the internet, they don't have that same quality.
No question. No question.
And I think that affects what people think of the HBCU brand. Well, why can't there be a standard, a production standard that is in keeping with the standard that you set for HBCU program? So that when they look at it, wherever they look at it, it looks the way it's supposed to look each and every time.
That's a good point, Rock. And let me try to take you a little bit to what I can tell you on that one. Is that what is happening is, for example, to your point, we're challenging the schools to start doing school-produced games. And a lot of them are forced in their conferences to do school-produced games, and that's how they're getting on the air. The ESPN Plus, they're paying for that production themselves. The schools are, okay? The problem is, to your point, putting the quality into it to make it a quality product. That's a big stickler, Rock. It's a big stickler because a lot of the schools are not set up for production. So they're hiring an outside group to do it, and that's been some of the dilemma. Now, what we're beginning to do is with every conference is to give them the standard of what we do, and saying, we know you're not going to get the magnitude of this, but we at least need 5 or 6 cameras, and we need them to be this and set up this way. And so we have begun to start creating that platform for them, Rock, of what they need to try to match up to some of our quality. And we're not going to put games on our air unless they match up to some of the quality, to your point, that we're looking for, But we are starting to get the schools to look very heavily at that, and try, because they now understand that the quality is key. It's key, to your point. Is that, people look at it like, oh man, this looks like a high school game. This looks like a college game, So it's a walk and crawl, Rock, but you're right on point. It's now trying to get the schools more vested in the equipment, the people, and begin to start understanding there's some value there if they can drive that product correctly.
Hey, Mr. Simon, let me ask you this question. I'm sorry, Coach.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. Has there been a talk to that point where you've seen this? ESPN has done it with the SEC. Mm-hmm. NBA has done it with TNT. Has there been any talk with, and I won't name a particular conference, where there could be a more integrated partnership where, hey, you know what? We have XTV, but we're going to utilize your expertise to produce XTV. Has there been a discussion about that?
Yeah, that's coming. That's coming. Just be patient. Yeah, there is some conversation going, and I think you'll see, give it another year to 2 years, and I think you'll start seeing some of that coming around the curve. I mean, now I think that one of the things that we bring to the table is, to Rock's point, people see how serious we are when we come in the house. They see what we bring to the table. And so I've heard from presidents, ADs, trying to figure out how they can match up to the quality we bring to the table. And so same way with the commissioners. I mean, one of the things I love about Charles McClellan, anytime you ask him about, oh, what do you think about your relationship with HBCU GO? He says the magic line every time, game changer. And I take that to heart because I think we have changed the landscape, begin to change the landscape of Black college sports. Because
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I'll finish. I just have one more question. Then we need to let you get some rest, Coach, because you got a big weekend.
I mean, the thing is that people start seeing, that Byron is really invested in this network. Now we're trying to get the world to understand, we're in it for the long haul. We're not trying to do it short form. And I think that's one of the things that we're really starting to make some difference in, the awards we're winning, quality of our programming, quality of announcers like Johnnie and others, quality of production, and just constantly beating on being the best we could be every time we step on that floor, on that floor or on that grass, whatever it is. And I think that, like I say, I took it for heart when the guy called me from CBS and said to me, you guys are doing the right thing. You're laying out some quality program. And I see it, the calls that I get. I got people from the Big Ten, SEC, announcers from all the NFL, other places, all want to come and do some work with me, because they see the quality of what we're doing, and they're watching it, so that's a good sign, to say that we're moving in the right direction at the end of the day.
Yeah. Hey, guys, any last questions?
No, I just want to thank Mr. Symonds for all he's doing for HBCU media. The quality of the work that you and your team does is unmatched. And I know personally, anything I can do to help broadcast, promote, whatever, I'm here for you guys. And I think this game you have this week between FAMU and Alabama State, it has the potential of drawing more eyes than any game you've broadcast thus far. You have an absolute bona fide superstar in the football game, which is Andrew Body.
No question.
And you playing a legendary program in a legendary location such as Bragg Memorial Stadium. And so I just think that's the backdrop of a tremendous HBCU event, and I can't wait to watch it this weekend.
Well, I just want to, first of all, compliment all you three, man. I think you guys are doing a great job. Johnny's been telling me about this show, and I've been on it a couple of times with you guys, but you guys are growing the show, man, and keep doing what you're doing. I'm riding. My son is head of my development side, so Johnny, make sure to touch base with Carrington, and I'd like to try to get some of you guys doing some stuff with us down the road. I'd like to create some podcasts on the network that just talk about HBCU GO like you guys are talking, and if we could try to maybe get a partnership down the road, hopefully we could try to get that rolling sometime soon. So keep up the good work. Appreciate the support. Every time you get a chance, you could give us a mention, HBCU GO, would appreciate it, and keep just telling our story. I keep watching grassroots, because like I was saying, one thing that is tough is having marketing dollars to spend to do what you need to do, but really, coming out of our culture, we're a grassroots culture, and the more people of us that talk about us grow whatever we're trying to grow, so I appreciate you, gentlemen, you taking your time, and it's a good night, and I really thank you a lot for allowing me to be on. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simon.
You'll be in Vegas, right?
I'll be in Vegas for sure.
Yeah,
will you be in Tallahassee this weekend?
No, I'm not going to be in Tallahassee. We're doing Southern Heritage down in Memphis. So
okay.
I promised Fred Jones I was coming down to Memphis this weekend for that game. So I'll be in Memphis this weekend for that game.
Well, I definitely see you in Vegas. Do I need to put my HBCU GO passes on my neck?
Just call me. We'll make sure.
I know you're doing North Carolina A&T and FAMU as well. And we got a guy on this show that probably is going to be at the game. Make sure if you're at that game, make sure you get an opportunity to go into the Rattler Club or whatever they call it down there. It's a good time down there at Rattler Nation.
Oh yeah.
What is that? What is that place called? That you
the North End Zone. The North End Zone. But,
I've heard about that.
But I want to say something because I think the record needs to be corrected. And I want to say this because I think it's very important. This shows very fact. One of the things, there was some angst about the deal, the 10-year deal with HBCU going. We was nervous. What money did we get? But I will say this. I know you have paid these SWAC schools very well. I can say that.
Thank
and
you.
I appreciate it because this is one of the best deals that I commissioned. I know what the deal is. He didn't want to tell it because he got kind of mad at me because I asked, hey, what is the deal? But I do know people, and I know you have treated us fairly, and I think it's a benchmark for any other deals that he has to do. So I want to
what?
Yeah. So I want to salute you for giving us a fair deal.
Oh, you said a benchmark. Okay, I thought you were
listen, he better not go into what listen, I know we get it. And again, it was way better than ESPN. I'll say that. So
well, I do appreciate that, and you have one of the best commissioners in the business, man. Charles McCullough we have a relationship that's unbelievable, and because of him, that's how we've got a great schedule. Our schedule, he brought the Las Vegas Classic to me. He just handed it to me, and I was like, oh man, come on, are you serious? I'm there. There's no way I'm backing off of that game, But I mean, he just does a great job all the way around, man. So you got a gem in him, and you should be really proud of what he's brought to the SWAC nation, no question. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
I'll call you and get on the list, and I'm gonna try.
Okay. All right, man. I look for you guys.
All right, thank you, guys. Thank you, Curtis.
All right, man.
I said benchmark. I did not say. See, right? Stop it. Y'all just need to stop. I said benchmark. I did not say benchmark. Benchmark. Excuse sometimes my Jackson accent. Okay.
No. I was about to say, hey, what are you doing? You trying to offend our guests up in here, man?
I said benchmark.
All right.
Stop.
All right. Hey, like I say, with no further ado, let's get busy talking about last week, Mr. Campbell. Last week, we had some games. We had Prairie View hosting Northwestern State, the same team that clipped Alcorn. Prairie View was able to close the deal. What'd you think about that, Mr. Campbell?
Well, I talked about this. I said this is a game that Prairie View had to win. I was very adamant about that because, again, I believe in Coach Jackson. I believe what he's building down there. And I really, really wanted them to get this out of conference W. They did. Looks like they're going to roll with a new quarterback, the kid Carter 21. So we'll see what goes forward when they play Grambling.
Well, like I said, man, I called it. I thought Prairie View would win the football game. Coach Jackson and his program and his team, as you see them, they're patient. They don't make a lot of penalties. Except with the first game of the year, but a lot of those were pass interference. It wasn't really, jumping off sides and some knucklehead play. It was a play versus man. But, I like what he's doing over there. The kids, they play sound. They play like they've been there. And they just starting. I had a chance to talk to Coach Jackson this week, and he said some of those kids that he got transferred in there, they realizing that they play football down here in the SWAC. And so, it's got some of those kids' eyes open. They still trying to pull it together. He's doing a great job, and I didn't expect nothing but that he would win. But Northwestern got a good football team. I know they've been 1-20, one of the worst Division II teams, but there was a reason for that. They had a player that got killed down in that area. Coaches quit in the middle of the season. So that program has been through a lot. But if you look back in the day, they used to be a real good program. So that's why I wasn't really saying, oh, man, Prairie View going to walk in there and just walk over them. They got a good program down there, and they're going to win some football games. All
right, Coach, I just wanted to point out when the last time you seen an air raid offense run for 352 yards? That don't look like, hey, that ain't no air raid, is it?
I don't think they air raid, are they? I don't think Coach Jackson.
That's what Coach Jackson said. They were air raid. They obviously not air raid no more.
Man, they can't. Man, that ain't even close to no air raid. That don't even look like no air raid.
I'm just telling you what Coach Jackson said.
Yeah, well, I didn't know. I didn't know he had said that, Coach. I'm gonna have to talk to him about that.
Yeah, I thought the guy that he brought was an air raid guy. His offensive coordinator. I thought he was an air raid guy. I may be wrong though.
148 yards passing. I can do that in my sleep.
And what you say? You did that on one drive in Mississippi.
We have the documentation now.
Yeah, for sure. We can go down. We can go to the next. We can kind of buzz through this. Everybody thought this would be a out of conference loss for Bethune-Cookman, but I thought Bethune-Cookman would be able to pull it out. If they're gonna play Alabama A&M as tough as they played them, they must really have something. And they showed up and showed out against Edward Waters. We kind of talked about this yesterday with Coach Jenkins. Anything you guys want to add to this?
Well, like I told you guys last week or yesterday last week that I'm glad, we need Bethune-Cookman to win. That adds quality to our conference. We need them to get out of that funk. And, they sitting in a heat bed of recruits. They got to be better and they got to do better. So right. Good to them.
Now this game right here is interesting to me. This Alabama A&M game. They played a backup quarterback in this game, and they was able to put 49 points. I look at the stats, Coach, and I know stats don't necessarily tell the whole story, but I don't see 49 points worth of production here. You got 205 in the passing game, about 194 in the running game. They don't look like 49 points worth of production. Oh, but I see right here they had 2 lost fumbles. So and maybe a couple interceptions. So
they had 2 safeties.
Okay.
Right? So really those 2 safeties turned into 18 points. How is that? We tackle you in the end zone, you punt from your 20, we go down and score. That's 9 points. You get tackled in your end zone again. You kick off, that's 2. That you go down and score. I seen this game. Alabama A&M scored 7 points in the first quarter alone, right? Just 7. But it was 3 different possessions, 2 safeties and a field goal. So
which say you never seen it.
Yeah, they only played half the field the whole game. Lane, I don't think passed the field.
Oh yeah, there you go, Coach. Safety, field goal, safety. I've never seen a touchdown scored that way, Coach.
Me neither, Coach. Me neither, man. I was a little disappointed. A&M got the ball, they fumbled, they got an interception. A&M's first pass was an interception. Interception going into the end zone. I seen Coach Shade over there, man. He was pissed off that first quarter because they only scored 7 points.
But they got it together. They had 21 scored in the second and the third, so they got it straightened out.
Rocky, I thought you was in his ear. He said, "Man, run that ball. Man, y'all better not throw another damn ball."
Coach, sometimes you don't have to pass it to win. I'm just gonna go and tell you.
That's right, Coach. That's right.
So this game was interesting. I actually, based on what I saw against Kentucky State, and I watched most of that game, I thought Grambling would come into this game and get roughed up by East Texas, a winless East Texas team. But I was wrong. They were able to beat the Whites. Yeah. And Coach, you said I didn't watch this game. You said you were able to look at the film on this one. And tell us what you saw, Coach.
East Texas wasn't no slouch. They had a nice quarterback that could throw the ball as well as run it. He rushed several yards against them. It was a good football team. It was a good Division I-A football team. And Coach, if you look now, the SWAC has beat several Southern schools in the Southland Conference. So we have won some games in the Southland Conference where we used to didn't win any. So the hat goes off to our coaching staffs in the SWAC conference.
Now let me ask you this here, Campbell. In your opinion, does that bode well for the SWAC, or does it say that the Southland is trending down?
Well, I got to come with some stats and facts. So here's a go. Out of conference games, the MEAC is 8-4. The Southland is 8-8. The SWAC is 4-9. SoCon is 5-14. So OVC is 9-10. So again, us 4-9 and the MEAC is 8-4.
But 9 of them losses came to Division I teams. Matter of fact,
This is Coach.
No, this is FCS schools, Coach.
FCS versus FCS. Come on, Coach. I come with facts. I don't do that. This is a real show here. No, I got this from Reddit FCS, cross conference FCS versus FCS record.
Now, some of our losses are against other FCS HBCU schools too. So it ain't against all the whites. Because
But no, I'm just talking about. But
yeah.
With that being said, you look at the MEAC that's 8-4. A lot of those schools were against PWIs that they play.
What is the record between the Southland Conference?
The Southland is now. This is just what they've done out of their conference. They're 8-8. They play 16 games against other FCS conferences teams, and they're 8-8.
Yeah, I'm comparing the SWAC in the Southland Conference.
Well, what I'm saying is they're 8-8, and we're 4-9 in those games.
Again, we played 9 Southland Conference teams.
No, total.
No, we played 13.
No.
And we're 4-9.
Yeah, 4-9 total. But to Coach's point, and right to your point, some of those games are like FAMU and Howard. That's an FCS game.
Yeah, and NCCU and Southern. You know what I mean? That was also a loss.
Yeah.
So like I say, I'm gonna be honest with you, Mr. Campbell. The SWAC has been in the last 5 years I've been watching. The SWAC has been horrible against the Southland Conference.
Right.
A bad McNeese team beat Southern.
Nickel State.
Yeah. It's been. I'm talking about. It's been horrible the last 5 years. And I think the 3 wins that I can think off the top of my head, with the South, 2 wins. These 2 wins are a good place to start.
Northwestern used to be. We played them when I was at Southern. Tough team. We were able to beat them when I was at Southern, but they were pretty good then. They were right in the middle of the road and a good football program.
Because we're gonna breeze through the MEAC. South Carolina lost to South Florida as expected. Is this a typical outcome of a Central Ohio and Morgan State game?
Yeah. Morgan State, 63 scholarships. They got a coach over there that's turned the program around with some respectability. They hadn't finished Steve Campbell better than 3rd or 4th place in the MEAC because they're always behind North Carolina Central and South Carolina State.
Yeah. In this next game, we got Cody versus St. Francis. And you know what I mean by Cody, right? COTY.
Celebrity coach?
No. Coach of the year.
Oh, coach of the year. Okay.
And this is Deshaun Jackson. Now, some people was telling me St. Francis is a Division II team. Are they a Division II team or a Division I AA team? I think they're a FCS school.
Yeah, I think so too. I had a guy that worked for me left us at Alabama State to go work up there. I'm thinking they Division I AA as well.
Yeah, they're FCS school. Now, this game right here, Coach, was pretty surprising. I didn't expect, after Hampton played Jackson State pretty tough, losing to A&T, I expect they would bounce back and come back and give Howard a game. and it looks like they laid down, Coach.
You know, Hampton just gave that job over to a friend of mine. You know, he took over as co-coach, and he off to a bad start. But he did a pretty good job last year as being the interim. You know, so, you know, you got to give him a year or two to get his kind of people in there and see what happens.
Hey, Coach, we had both of these coaches on the show, and you said you stamped both of these guys with the winner's seal of approval. But only one of them won last weekend. What did you think about that, Coach?
Man, I talked to Trey Oliver, you know, about the game, and both of them agreed. Sean and him agreed that, you know, Sean's got to change the culture at North Carolina A&T. You know, he's got a lot of work to do. And then when they get 3 quarterbacks knocked out, and now you're down to number 4 at an FCS school, you really, really down. This kid, who's ever playing quarterback now, maybe came there to play something else, and now he's taking snaps as the quarterback. So he's upfield battle on one leg on ice. So you know, they just gotta stay with him, and I think he can get that thing turned around.
Hey, Coach, can I ask you a question? This is going to be controversial, and this is not being disrespectful, but I got to ask it. I read the article. I sent you guys the article, and let me see if I can pull that up, because I want to quote it accurately, because I think this is important, because this goes back to Doug Williams. Let me see if you can give me I apologize. I should have had it up, but you just triggered something in me. So, okay, here we go. So he said, let me get his quote here. He said that the head coach described a locker room in which too many players are quick to criticize or undercut their teammates instead of supporting them. We've got too many guys that hate on this team, he admitted. Anytime my teammate has an opportunity to shine, I got to support him. Those are things we got to work on. So I read that, but then I guess this goes back to my question. A lot of these guys he recruited as transfers. So where does that come into play? And this goes back to the Trey Oliver and also to the thing with Doug Williams. Are we not realizing there's a reason why these guys are in the portal? And maybe we really should focus more on the integrity of high school kids that actually want to be at our schools? Because no disrespect to Coach Gibbs, but when I heard that, I'm like, well, what was your evaluation when you were bringing them in? These
you got to remember, Mr. Campbell, Coach Gibbs told us he only brought in 9 transfers.
That's it?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, then I stand corrected.
You know, that was one of the things that I had a point of contention is, I was like, how are you going to expect to win and you only brought in 9 guys? He brought in 5 guys from Fort Valley State, and he brought in 4 transfers.
Okay, so then I'll flip it then. Okay, so then this goes back to the second part of it. So no, Coach Gibbs, not to be disrespectful, I'm asking the question of Coach. You made the statement, so I'm trying to understand the statement. So if that's the point, Rocky, then when you're going through this, did you not say, let me do like a lot of coach, let me get rid of all these guys because they're cancers and start over fresh? See, it's an either or. So either you brought them in or you said, so that's why I found that interesting when he said that, because look at what Deion did. Deion came to Jackson State and said, y'all got to go. This is not Jackson State standard. He got rid of those guys that was a cancer at Jackson State University. He did the same thing. You get a lot of coaches that have done this. You look at what Sam Shea, he said, I kept some guys I didn't keep. I brought in guys that were going to change the culture, you know, and things like that. But Trey always built his culture from the ground up. So I just found that interesting. So, Coach, I guess my question is to you, when you see a statement like that, what is the next step that you do? Do you say, okay, at the end of the season, I'm going to get rid of all these guys? Or do you try to build these guys up like what the coach is talking about?
Well, you know, I have to be honest, Coach. I think you're right. As a coach, they make you head coach. And you got to evaluate these players. You know, you had a spring football practice. You got to evaluate them. You know, you got to make sure you pick up on them things. And so when you get ready to come in and play, you should already know that. Somewhere down the line, I got to say to Coach Gibbs, you miss some important things when you're saying that it's some kids on here that don't like each other. We all working for one common goal, and that's to win football games. So, he on his honeymoon, though, and, he's going to have to get rid of some of them, and he's got to change the culture there.
Yeah. And like I said, no, and Coach Gibbs, like I said, this is just a question because it was a question asked to me to ask Coach Cole. So that's why, and I apologize because, Rocky, you guys interviewed and I wasn't on. So I apologize. I didn't want to misquote anything because that's very important. So thank you for that correction.
Yeah, Mr. Campbell, that's what I wanted to kind of and I kind of challenged him on it. And I said, Coach, do you think you have enough talent in the building to compete with what you had? And he was like, yeah, I think we got enough guys, whatever. Now he did say that, that he felt like he had enough guys, but obviously he doesn't.
I could truly say, guys, when I came into different programs, I've been in 4 different programs that we turned around. Out of that spring, when I came out of that spring, I knew who I need to get rid of and who was going to buy into what we're trying to do. And that's why you do things like making sure this is the uniform we wear, we behind the line, this is how we handle it. And no earrings, sitting in front of the classroom. And people gonna show their color. They're gonna show their true color. And then you can find out those are the guys that we need to move on. And especially if they're disrespecting the program during the spring and the summer. So that falls on Gibbs. As much as I think he's gonna get it going in the right direction, And then sometimes, guys, let me admit to this as well. You fall in love with talent. A couple of those guys probably he felt that could play is like cancer. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you get caught up in that as a coach. And when you losing football games or losing a big game, it'll show its true color. And then you got to do what you need to do. Just like you put the one kid out for, I guess he put some water on Coach Oliver. Right. And that's what you got to do. You got to make somebody out of an example that this is going to be the standard. The standard is the standard. Absolutely,
Coach. And then our last guy against Sacred Heart, Norfolk hosted Sacred Heart in a heartbreaker. Where Norfolk trailed most of the game. They were able to fight back and tie, and I think they tied the game. And then, no, they didn't tie the game. I think that they went. They may have even took the lead, if I'm not mistaken. No. They let me look at the game cast because I want to say at one point either they had the lead or the game was tied. No, they were down 10. They were down 10. So they were down 10, scored a touchdown. And then I think the game unfolded where they missed a field goal at the end of the game to lose. I want to ask Coach Cole, based on what you've seen from Norfolk, is this loss an improvement over their first 3 games?
I'm kind of glad you asked me that, because and I still say, I'm against guys that don't. It's like as you call me, a career coach, and these guys jumping from the pros. I got to say they are doing an exceptional job. I think this is a moral win for Norfolk. I think they came in, they played well and playing well. Delaware State, I think, their schedule fits what they need for being first-year guys to come in and make some mistakes and that kind of thing. So, no, I take my hat off. If you go back and look at Norfolk State playing teams like that, they were getting beat pretty bad. So I give them both an A this weekend.
Coach, but here's the situation I want to say, Coach. When you talk about production, they did play well. They auto threw for 340. They ran for 210. But they had 2 Let me see. They had 1 interception and 2 lost fumbles. Coach, like, I understand what you're saying. That, they, for all intents and purposes, they were in this game the whole time, but because of the mistakes they were making, it seemed like they were going uphill. And I definitely want to go to penalties to see where they are. And they've made some improvement on penalties. They were 9 for 77. That's still too many. Yeah. That's still too many.
And
so
look at time of possession.
Now, let me ask you this here, Coach, while we're talking about this. And I'm not talking about the team improving, because we know the team is probably going to improve over time. How much can a coach who has never coached a Division I game as a head coach before, how much can he improve from game to game in his inaugural season as head coach?
I think it's just like the players. I mean, each game you learn a little more about yourself. And the biggest thing is, how much are the people around you good and that's improving? Because, being a first-year coach, I know you're not the smartest in that room. Brother, you bring a lot of guys in there that don't have a lot of experience at all. So everybody is in there guessing. So I think as a staff, they're growing. When you look at turnovers, when you look at did we get 11 out on the field? Do we look at the penalties? So as a coaching staff, I think you improve game to game, because situations are always different as well. So each situation brings a different type of call or different type of experience to the head coach, that he'll put that one in his pocket. Prime example, hopefully with my man down in Texas Southern, he don't get in another situation where a team he's punting at his 2-yard line, he's up 7 with 45 seconds left, that he gonna go and walk out the end zone and take the 2 points and kick them back. So, or it's 6 seconds left in the game and you're at the 17 and you need to get in the end zone to win the game. You don't need no field goal. Hell no, I'm not going to be in man coverage. I'm going to sit back and we're going to let him throw the ball underneath and rally up and tackle, game over. So, yeah, you'll learn year to year. You should. But if you don't, it's going to get worse and worse and worse.
All right, Coach, next week for the MEAC, as we go over these games, we got Delaware State and Sacred Heart.
Right there. You see who Delaware State is playing.
Yes.
Who open played just last week. So, Coach, if Deshaun Jackson beat Sacred Heart and Mike Vick lost to him, does that mean anything? Does that mean something?
Well, one thing, it means that Deshaun Jackson, Delaware State, is way ahead of Norfolk, getting better.
So I'm gonna say,
I told you guys the first of the year when I seen Delaware State came out, right? I said, man, this looked like this guy's is paying attention to details. They don't look like the Delaware State of old. Just how they dress and look and approach the game. I thought it was a different there. So yeah, I would think that Deshaun is way ahead of Norfolk.
Coach, I don't see how you can do any better offensively than compiling almost 550 yards. That's what Norfolk State did. I don't think Delaware State is going to compile that many yards, but they may not give up 28 points either. So I believe there's a space where we can recognize that Norfolk State is a good team or a competitive team, and Delaware State still wins. Because like I say, Norfolk State lost the game, but if you look at their offensive production, they were very productive in that game.
Yeah. Well, that the only stat really count now is the W and the L.
Well, Rocky, I'm gonna say this.
On one Saturday night, Johnnie Cole was throwing a 6 touchdowns.
No, and that's why I say no, Coach. The effort you give matters. Effort you give, you never forget those nights.
Well, I'm telling you this: if Delaware State, which they have that strong running game compared to Norfolk's running game, could be a big difference. So,
I wouldn't. In my heart of hearts, I believe Delaware State is ahead of Norfolk.
Hey,
No doubt.
Who was Adrian Cook? He said Delaware State beat the H out of them. Vic might go back to the dog ranch. That's your cousin.
Coach, do not entertain him. Please do not entertain that boy.
Yeah, Coach. Yeah, he ain't got good sense, Coach. Hey, Coach. So Norfolk has Wagner. Historically, what does Wagner have, Coach? You know about these schools?
Oh, well, of course they play good, solid football up there. You know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna make a lot of mistakes. They're gonna keep the game close, but they don't have great team speed like we have. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And if they in those schools, they either good and gonna be ranked or they just bad.
Okay, gotcha. You got Norfolk or Wagner, Coach?
I'm gonna take Norfolk.
What about you, Campbell?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Norfolk. They're in the Northeast Conference. They're really Wagner's a basketball school.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they make it. They're a basketball school. They make good runs in the tournament and stuff like this. So football is just one of those things they gotta have, just to have. So no, football is not there especially. Now basketball, it'd be by 40.
Hey, and then now is this game, from what I understand, if it was a ACT or SAT competition, it'd be really good competition as well. But they're playing football. So, Coach, who you think is going to win?
Man, them Richmond Spiders, man. I'm going to go with the Richmond Spiders.
What about you, Mr. Campbell?
Yeah, I'm not sold on Howard. Offensively, I still think they're still challenged. Again, they supposed to beat Hampton. Hampton's not a good team. They showed that. I can say Howard, like I say, they beat us, but again, we gave that game away. So, like I said, I don't think Howard has enough to beat Richmond, not at all.
Even though Richmond lost to a Wofford team that lost to South Carolina? Oh, they beat a Wofford team that lost to South Carolina. Okay, all right. So we'll see. I'm gonna go with you guys and take the Richmond Spiders. I think this game right here.
What is Florida State going on? A Division II? My man over there. He's trying to pick up wins.
Anywhere else.
Yeah, he's trying to get some wins, Coach. He's trying to get some wins.
Hey,
baby.
Coach, do you blame him, Coach?
No, I don't blame him, Coach. Because fans, man, they don't forget they forget who you play. All they remember is that record.
All right. I think we all got Morgan State. This Charleston Southern game is interesting, but I got to take South Carolina State.
Yeah, I got to take South Carolina State as well.
What about you, Cam?
Did they not play them last year and beat them, I believe? I could be wrong. But no, I got it. Like, listen, I watched that South Carolina State team. They played the FBS teams that they played them strong, they played them hard, gave them a run for money. Chinsbury's got that thing working down there. Again, one of the things that was interesting, though, when they played South Florida, I watched that game, and they had a brother that was played at University of Notre Dame wide receiver. He did make a statement I found interesting. He said, Coach, you need to figure out who your quarterback is going to be. And I got to agree with that. Chin has been playing this, but maybe he's getting ready for MEAC play. But I still just don't understand why he's going back and forth with his quarterbacks. I think Stubberville should be the guy.
One thing that Jenkins said yesterday, experienced coach knows situational football. And maybe that's what's missing with Vic, and we'll see how that goes. As you say, experienced coaches knows those situations.
Now check this here, Coach. The best coach at HBCU football, in my opinion, Coach Trey Oliver, is traveling to Texas to take on East Texas A&M, Coach. This is kind of an out-of-market game for them. For them to take this trip all the way to East Texas is interesting to see. It seems like they could travel just as far and play a Grambling or play a Southern at home or maybe even a Jackson State, But they're playing East Texas A&M, Coach. How do you see this game, Coach?
I got North Carolina State big. I watched them against Grambling. North Carolina Central going to be coming downhill. Harris has got his confidence back. I see North Carolina Central by 2 touchdowns.
What about you, Campbell?
Yeah, hey, listen, Grambling beat East Texas A&M. I believe that North Carolina State is 2 times better than Grambling. I don't think they'll have any problem. And I think, I could have sworn that this game had to get picked up because they thought they had another game against HBCU that fell through. So they picked this game up last minute. But you know what the great thing about it is, Trail? It's always good to get down to Texas. Let people see your program. Let people see what kind of coach you are. Again, a lot of talent down there. So I think for him, it's also a recruiting trip.
That's good.
Now they took a bus to Atlanta, didn't they?
Yeah, that's a good observation, man, Coach.
So now, Rock, I think they will take a plane. Now, Rock, you tell where is actually? I know it's in East Texas.
It's in Commerce. Okay. Right, Coach?
Yes.
It's in Commerce. Commerce is probably what, an hour and a half outside the Metroplex.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they're flying to Dallas from Durham and get on down there. So hey, that's a good flight. That's a good flight for those kids.
Yeah.
And Franklin might be he said that's a recruiting trip.
Oh yeah. Well, Franklin is probably his parents gonna be at the game. I guarantee you. No. Chris Mosley's parents gonna be at the game. He's from North Crowley. So his parents and there's gonna be a whole bunch of people watching Chris Mosley in that game. That's the running back from NCCU, and I'm sure he's gonna light it up. So I'm gonna take NCCU in that game as well. We're gonna move over to the SWAC guys because that's where all the action is. This game.
Yes, sir. SWAC time, baby. Somebody's trying to sneak in the SWAC. It ain't gonna be no like that. I got a feeling.
So we got these two.
I got a feeling, brothers. I got a feeling. Somebody's trying to sneak in the SWAC. It ain't gonna be no it's like that. I'm just I got it. It just went in me.
It's that time, Coach. Conference must be kicking off because we got Coach singing. We got Coach singing in there. So we're gonna take these 2 games right here first because these are guys that all 4 of these teams. I think it's fair to say all 4 of them are struggling. Wouldn't you say?
You look at them records, Coach.
Is that one win out of all 4 of those teams?
Hey, Coach. These teams are Lincoln, California, and 11. Lincoln, California, and 11.
Look, they're gonna bounce back, Coach. It's just look, everybody got to dust themselves out. You found out who gonna play, who ain't gonna play, who you need to replace. We need to get back on the winning ways.
So I'm a say something about this game here, this Arkansas Pine Bluff game. And I want to speak to our good friend of the show, Cedric Thomas. A guy I really like was fired last year because he lost this game. I like Bubba McDowell as a coach, as a person, as a man. But he lost to Arkansas Pine Bluff. After he lost this game, Coach, I could no longer defend him or justify him continuing to coach at Prairie View. I find this game being the same situation for Cedric Thomas. If he loses this game, somebody I like as a man, as a coach, I think he's the right fit for the program. But if he loses this game, Coach, and people decide to get rid of him, I can't defend him. So I think this is a must-win for Alcorn State and Cedric Thomas's career at Alcorn. What do you think, Coach?
Thank God I've never been in those situations. 1 game winning or.
Do you think it's that situation for him though, or am I being hyperbolic?
I think maybe you might be jumping the gun. He's on his second year taking over the program. You almost put him in the same situation as Southern University. But Alcorn is a proud school and it's a football school. The thing about it, he's from that area. So, I think he has some love. I think he has some patience. I think let me say this: it's a little scratch in the bottom of your bucket, and a little water going to trickle out. You know what I mean? So I think this game is real important that he does win.
I'll back off because the man from Mississippi, I'm sure he has an opinion about this game.
Listen, that's a proud bunch down there at Alcorn. They expect excellence. They believe they can win championships. And the thing about it is, Coach said that he wanted to get the team to be bigger and faster. I think one of the things that sometimes you got to keep it simple. And the bad thing about it is how their schedule sets up. To your point, you lose this game, you play Lincoln next week, but then you play Prairie View. And then you play FAMU after that. So you don't want to be in a situation where a game like this where you're supposed to win, you lose, and all of a sudden you're 1-6, 1-7. So I think this is a point. I think, again, I think Alcorn has enough pride and understand, what this game means for them. I don't think they're going to be looking ahead to Prairie View next week. I think they're going to keep the main thing, and I think they'll win this game.
Okay. Is it a must win, though, Mr. Campbell?
Well, yeah, because the way the schedule sets up. Because the problem is if you lose this game, I won't say you play Lincoln, you play Prairie View next week, you play Lincoln, and you play FAMU.
I'm not talking about for your standing in the SWAC. I'm talking about for Coach Thomas's.
No, but listen what I'm saying. I'm answering your question. If you lose this game, you'll be 0-4. You play Prairie View. You might not win that game. You'll be 0-5. You play Lincoln, you win that one, and then you lose FAMU.
Yeah, you definitely can't go in the homecoming 0-5.
That's what I'm saying. You'll be 1-6.
Not Alcorn State.
Yeah.
Alcorn State. Alcorn.
Yeah. So that's why this game is so important, because the game that's behind you that you're not going to be favored in.
Okay. Let's take this. A third-year coach looking for it. Was Prairie View a signature enough win last year to extend his career at Arkansas Pine Bluff?
I think Pine Bluff is going to, unfortunately, I think Pine Bluff is going to make a change. I don't think Coach Hampton will be there next year. I think Coach Hampton has tried his best with what he's had. Again, he kind of gets on the coach's call. And unfortunately, and this is what's the one of the coaches call, when you start kind of saying the same thing every week, it kind of started to sound like Dooley last year. And Bubba McDowell, they start saying the same thing every week, and then you start picking things that there's no progress to be had. So again, I know Coach Hampton believes in that university. I believe he wants to be the coach there, but I think they're just going to make a change because especially now, we're too trigger happy to get rid of coaches. So now I don't see them bringing him back.
All right, Coach. Next up is your alma mater. I'll let you start traveling to see the Fighting T-Bucks in Mississippi Valley.
Yeah, one thing about it, Texas Southern football program, they leaving on Thursday. So they staying down there Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night after the game. So they'll be well rested. And if anybody ever been down there between Greenville and Greenwood down in Etta Bena, Mississippi, every time you go down there, man, it's just this mystique of a down mystique. You don't be excited because, the university is surrounded by cotton fields. So Texas Southern, going to be down there for a minute. I hope the kids don't get drained or don't get that mystique over them, because Mississippi Valley's quarterback can really, really hurt you, and you can't go in there like they did against Lamar, penalty after penalty, block punt after block punt. But I think because Valley play a lot of man, and I somebody got to tell Coach Buckley now, I know you can play man and you can play, but these kids ain't you, because Texas Southern got some folks on the edge that can run. And so I think if they do a lot more zone than man, and they not getting to that quarterback, it'll be a long day.
All right.
Texas win.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and move to these next game. We'll go with Alabama A&M travels to Daytona to take on Bethune-Cookman. Alabama A&M is off to what I consider a very impressive start in the first year head coach by Coach Sam Shade. But he travels to a Bethune-Cookman team that, to be perfectly honest with you, needs a Division I win.
Yeah, Bethune-Cookman need to win, just period. You know, you talking about a rocky situation. That's a rocky situation. You know, and I'm pretty sure they getting a little restless down there with almost and coulda, woulda, shoulda. But you're playing against a good, solid Alabama A&M team that's going to play good, solid defense. Again, I didn't like offensively what they done against Lane, but Brown, they started quarterback, didn't play. I wonder why. Maybe they rested him for this week with some injury. But, you know, you got to be ready to snap on your chin strap playing against Alabama A&M, and hopefully Bethune-Cookman is ready to go. I got Alabama A&M 28-7.
All right, 28-7. What do you got, Mr. Campbell?
Well, here is the most dangerous thing. There's nothing better when your friend got a prettier girlfriend than you. And I'm going to tell you, you looking at an AD with Reggie Theus, and he's looking at Paul Bryant, and he's saying, now, wait a minute, he just hired a guy in his first year, and he's turned it around, and he comes out here and beats my coach. That doesn't bode well. That doesn't bode well. So, once again, this is one of those games that Coach Woody's been down there. He's supposedly gotten his players, his systems in place. He has a dynamic quarterback. He probably got the third, fourth best quarterback, and depending on when he plays, can be a top quarterback. And they're just not executing. So I'm just telling you, this is one of those games that, again, I think for Bethune-Cookman, this could be the nail on the coffin. This is when the U-All special starts up. And like I said, I've always been a big fan of Coach Shade and just his mentality. He's about business. He's about football. And this goes back to my point about identifying guys that fit your system and fit the coach you want to have. Coach Shade has done that. I've heard about these players rallying around and understanding what his system is. Very disciplined. We've seen that in these games. And again, I think they're going to go down there and they're going to roll.
All right, Coach. We might as well look at this one right here. Jackson State and Southern, the Boombox Classic in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. On the Bluff, Coach. You've coached in this game, if I'm not mistaken, Coach Cole, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We talking about a Southern team. To be honest with you, they got back on the right track against Mississippi Valley. True enough. But they lost to Alabama State. You know, of course, with the D1 game against Fresno, took an L. I think it's fair to say that they're still looking for a quarterback, Coach Cole.
Well, now they're looking for an offensive coordinator. And, you know, they hand the reins over to Ed McNair, Steve McNair. He's been around the game long enough. But when I look back and talk with some people in the past, you know, he really is underneath, you know, of calling the plays to himself. I'm pretty sure as a head coach, you know, he's, you know, got some experience, but, you know, now the whole ring is on him. It ain't necessarily the offense that he knows or he runs. It's offense that he had to come in and learn. You know, it's pressure. It's pressure on him. It's pressure on head coach because, you know, Southern's got to win. You know, the people down there expect that. I think it's going to be a capacity crowd. You know, like you say, the battle of the band's going to be going. This is going to be an outstanding football game. And if you're near there, you probably need to go get a ticket to this one.
So let me.
I got Jackson State, man, 35-14.
So let me ask Mr. Campbell this, because this is interesting. Jackson State, in my opinion, struggled against Hampton. Then they went to play Southern Mississippi. They did what they did in that game. Then played Tuskegee, and then by all accounts, I think they struggled there as well, even though it was a Division two team. You guys respect Tuskegee and their pedigree and what they do, and the Tuskegee is not a team that any D1 should expect to walk over, is what y'all told me, right? But I can't not see what I saw against Hampton. I can't not see what I saw against Tuskegee. Is this a Jackson State team that's living off the reputation of last season? Or are they what they were last year, Mr. Campbell?
I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm gonna say this again. When you can go to Southern Mississippi and run for damn near 200 plus yards of offense on a team that he brought that won a conference, and Southern, who is scoring less than FAMU by a point, that is struggling, and Jack State, who has the number one scoring defense in the SWAC, I don't think Jack State's not going to have any problem with this. I think one of the things I like the standards become the standard. You're judging them against themselves. That when you start judging yourself against it, that means you're at a high standard. So you got a lot of people, they're talking about should Lockhart play, should, Jacoby Morgan. Now, has Jacoby Morgan made that leap that I thought he was going to make? He has not. But I'll tell you one thing they do have is that offensive line and then those running backs. And unfortunately, Southern has just not shown anything capable of scoring points. They can't score points. They're just as bad as FAMU scoring points. So I don't think that Jack State's going to have any trouble. And shout out to Adrian Cook, because we were joking. Somebody asked when the last time that Southern had beat Jackson State. I said the first Trump administration was actually the first 4 months of the Biden administration. That's the last time that Southern had beat them. So no, I don't think anything's going to change here. I think Southern fundamentally, that team is flawed from an offensive standpoint. I think the defense, they've got guys there, but I think offense is just not going to work.
Now, when did Southern beat Jackson State last?
When the first four in 2021.
Oh, in March of 2021.
Yes.
Oh, Dion was Dion's second or third game coaching.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And I don't think anything has changed. So I think that, again, I think Jack State is going to go down this game and roll. I think also, too, on a side note, to talk about Jack State not wanting to be in the band competition, I think that the boom is going to be fired up to prove why they're one of the best bands in the land. I think it's going to be a great game for the fans. But I think Jack State, they're going to beat Southern by at least 2.5 touchdowns.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break before we evaluate this next game.
This year, we're keeping it 100. The 100th Anniversary State Fair Classic, Saturday, September 27th at the world's largest fair. Enjoy the Southern Soul pregame concert on the Chevy main stage. Then Grambling State versus Prairie View A&M. The halftime show, the world-famed, versus the Marching Storm. And the post-game concert, TLC, at State Fair Classic. Tickets at Ticketmaster and all usual ticket outlets.
All right, guys, we back. And you get your tickets at Ticketmaster for the State Fair Classic featuring Grambling University and Prairie View A&M. I'll go first on this one. I think this will be a very competitive game, but there's no way I could not pick Coach Jackson in this matchup considering who he's beaten thus far this season and the varying number of ways his team has been able to win. One game passing the ball against TSU, another game running the ball against Northwestern State. I just think Prairie View has the stuff to win this game up in the legendary Cotton Bowl. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Mr. Campbell.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Once again, this is a very important game for both coaches because I think this is going to see which direction their programs go. I think Prairie View understands what the assignment is. I think they figured out what they're going to do with their quarterback situation. They ran for, 300-plus yards the last game. Again, always like that identity. I think the defense is there, especially on the D line. I really like what they do on the defensive line. I think the defensive backs are still shaky. I think they're still trying to work that out. And, again, I think Coach Jackson has the right mentality on this team. The one thing about I got to give Coach Mickey Joseph credit is he has kept his team focused on ending games to win games. I thought he was kind of shaky just with, some of his vibe when he was talking. But that means something. When you keep guys to say, hey, keep fighting to the end, I think this game is going to be close. I don't think Prairie View is going to come in there and run Grambling out the gym. But I think Prairie View comes and wins this game and keeps marching on.
Both of these guys are kind of like my understudy, as you all guys know. And so I've talked to both of them behind closed doors. So I'd rather keep my what I think. But I do think that whoever wins this game will win the West Conference due to the fact that all the other schools play the Big Four on the east side, which is A&M, Alabama State, Jackson State, and Florida A&M, which right now all four of those schools are doing well. Maybe not Florida. Florida A&M is not the Florida A&M that but never know they might can get it turned around. So that's the way I feel about it. I wish good luck to both of them, and we'll see after the game.
All right, Coach. But let me ask Campbell, do you agree with Coach's assessment that this is essentially the SWAC West Championship game?
I'm going to tell you what's funny. And no, I don't. I don't. And I'll tell you why. The West, I think these teams are not too far from each other. And quiet as kept, and I hate to say it, Southern's still going to have something to say about this. Southern's still going to have something to say about it because I think that Southern is one of those teams because one thing about Southern, they have enough arrogance that they don't fear anybody that they're going to play. They don't fear Jackson State. They believe their players say we're going to win this game. So I'm not going to say this is a de facto championship. I think it means more for Prairie View compared to what Grambling is sitting at. I think it means more because of Prairie View's schedule. But I think Grambling's got a couple more hurdles compared to what Prairie View is.
All right. Now, this is what I consider the big game of the weekend. This game is going to be on HBCU GO. Earlier, we had Mr. Symonds on. Mr. Symonds, the president of HBCU GO. He talked about his commitment to excellence and the quality of his broadcasts are second to none, in my opinion. With that being said, this is the game this is must-see TV for me. I think, in my opinion, Andrew Body is the best player in the SWAC. He'll put his talents on display against a FAMU team that is talented. However, they're struggling at the quarterback position, which causes them to struggle to put up points. I don't think you can play an explosive team led by Andrew Body, Alabama State led by Andrew Body, without knowing where you're going to get your points from because you're going to need points to win the game. For that reason, I got to take Alabama State in this game, but it may be closer than people think. Go ahead, Coach.
At the end of the day, Florida A&M, you got to score. And they've been struggling last year scoring. They're struggling this year scoring. I really won't count last week. They played against a non-factor football team. They got to fix that. And Alabama State is they did a great job last week on defense, and they got to keep that going because this kid Andrew Body, man, is something special. It's going to be hard to stop him because he could do it both ways. Early in his career, he did a lot of running and he won that pocket passer. Now this kid has worked on that and he's got that. And if it ain't there, he can get out. He can get out and put some pressure. This kid is a true FCS kind of player. And I say that to say in FCS, if you scoring points, you win in football games. So, I got Alabama State in a close one. In a close one against Florida A&M.
Well, this is what I'm going to say. I'm not going to pick a winner. I'm going to pick keys. And here's the thing. It's amazing how one thing can change your destiny. And the destiny for FAMU is their wide receivers. If FAMU wide receivers catch the ball against Howard, they got 2 more touchdowns. If they catch the ball against Albany State, they got 3 more touchdowns. If they caught the ball against FAU, they had 3 more touchdowns. So, and I'm talking about scheme, wide open, guys dropping the ball. So that's the thing that bodes well for FAMU. You're talking about Alabama State, who is leading the SWAC in scoring, number 2 in scoring defense, but they do have 10 new starters. So the question is not that can RJ go toe-to-toe, is can the FAMU wide receivers, when opportunities come, can they catch the ball to execute? That's what the game is going to come down to. Because if they can't catch the ball, because then we're having a different conversation. But that's what I'm saying, how destiny can change things. One little thing can change your perception. Because if they catch those balls, then we're talking about, wow, FAMU's averaging 30 points a game. Alabama State's averaging 30 points a game. But they're not, because they're not catching the ball. So I guess what I will say is, the Coach Cozy, I hope they had a jugs machine ready to go every day in Tallahassee. Because fundamentally, that's where their game is going to be lost at. I think one of the things also, too, with Andrew, I think that our defensive line is much better than last year. I don't think they're just going to be running the ball up and down. But one thing that I want to see Andrew do, which I think he's improved on, but I did see that a little bit, is can you force him to make that Andrew Body bad throw that he knows he shouldn't make? I think that's key. I think he still has a little bit in him. If he does that, that's the opportunity for FAMU. So what I'm looking to see, I think it's going to be a close game. But I think, once again, for FAMU, the crowd is going to be there. I'm coming in Saturday morning. They say it's going to rain. I hope it doesn't hinder the crowd. I think our AD, shout out to Angela Suggs. We got Club Bragg going. That was her idea with the lights. I think that's going to be a great atmosphere. You're talking about, again, a TV game, a big game at 3 o'clock. So, again, I think Alabama State is going to come down there. They want to win the game. They have not beat FAMU since we've been to SWAC. But, again, Coach Coach understands it is what it is. So, I'm going to say this. Can Andrew Body keep them on schedule, not make bad throws, and can FAMU wide receivers catch the ball?
All right. Hey, Coach, you just mentioned that. Has there been any change in your AD status since the last time we spoke? Just
I'm sorry, Rock. What was that?
Has there been any change in your AD status since the last time we spoke?
She will be back shortly. There's a couple of things that's still working out, but again, she's still FAMU's AD, and that's not going to change. Okay, gotcha. Hey guys, man, this has been another great show. If you want to call in, you got 2 minutes to call in, and we'll take your phone call. You guys may have an opinion you want to espouse on the show or whatever. You may take issue with some of our picks even, but at the end of the day, you got 2 minutes. But hey, this is what I want to say. Is there any question to this point, who is the best offensive player in the SWAC thus far? Is there any argument there? Well, let me say this. Here's the good thing, and I want to make sure I say this. It's not an argument, but I tell you what, Sam Shade is glad that his quarterback that he has can be in the discussion. And that, for them, is a big deal. So you're talking about, again, their quarterback that has played well, got confidence. So, again, I don't need my guy to be the best guy. I need my guy to be my guy. And I think Sam Shade can sit back very confidently as one of the coaches that say he got a quarterback that he feels comfortable with.
Coach, you got a moment to answer one of my coaching questions I got for you, Coach.
Yeah, what is it, Coach?
Jackson State has a quarterback that's struggling, right? He won a national championship last year. He's coming to this season in the first 3 games. To be perfectly honest with you, he struggled. You played a backup quarterback in the game against Tuskegee, he looked about the same as Morgan did, to be perfectly honest with you. He wasn't an upgrade or a drastic improvement. At that point, when both of the guys looked the same, largely ineffective, do you think at that point, Coach, do you look at your system as a coach, or do you continue to work on what you're trying to do as an offense?
Did you freeze?
Did I freeze?
Yeah. What was the last part? Do you work on what?
Do you work on, okay, when both quarterbacks have struggled with executing what you're trying to do offensively, both quarterbacks, do you change what you're doing, or you continue to work on the system?
One thing I told you guys, that quarterback is to me is based on pass completions and winning football games. They win in football games, Coach. And some of the things is you say, you look at your system, you look at what these kids can do better. I gotta admit, I like to stay with my guy. You know what I mean? And if you ain't got a number two, I didn't really have a number two. My guy almost averaged throwing 2 interceptions a game, Coach. And we won the SWAC championship. Why I stayed with him, he was an athlete. He worked real hard. He knew the system, but there were some things that he wasn't a passer. He was a thrower. He could throw the ball. So I did the things that he could do when it came down to throwing the football, but we were going to run the football. We was going to keep it close. We was going to get a game to our teams. So those the type of things you got to decide as a head coach. I remember one game, he fumbled 2 or 3 times or 2 times and threw an interception, had 3 turnovers in the first half, and the crowd was booing him. Hell, I was booing him. You know what I mean? Campbell, hey, look, the game got tight. And actually when we played Jackson State, and Coach, I didn't throw another pass the second half. We rushed for 275 yards. We won the game big. And I met with my offensive staff and said, guys, we got to do what makes us win, and we can win with this kid, but we can't put this kid in bad situations. And that's throwing the football.
Hey, Coach, we got one caller with the last 4, 6660. You're live on HBCU Coaches Corner. What's your name and where you calling from?
How you doing, gentlemen?
Good. How you doing? What's your name and where you? Gentlemen? What's your name and where you calling from?
I have 3 questions, and I'll just ask the question and I'll just sit back to listen.
Okay.
So, Mr. Rocky, 1 for you, 1 for Coach, and 1 for Mr. Campbell. The first one, Rocky, it sounds like you just love a lot of Andrew Body. So my question is, if they don't win the championship, is the season unsuccessful? Question number 1. Coach, the other question is, I know you always like throwing the ball, but if you're running the ball like Prairie View, would you say, hey, I'm just going to run the ball and not throw the ball? And then, Mr. Campbell, excuse me, the last one, can you tell the listeners, what do you think out of the games this week, which one will have the most attendance? And I'll sit back and listen.
I'll let you go first, Campbell.
Yeah, well, that's easy. I mean, it's going to be the State Fair Classic. I mean, come on. I mean, they're playing in the biggest stadium, and they're playing a classic that gets anywhere between 50 to 65,000 people. I mean, that's simple. I mean, it's a classic game. It's a big game. But I'll tell you this, to separate that, FAMU and Alabama State is going to be packed. And I believe from what I understood, those folks from Jackson are rolling down I-55 to Southern, so that's going to be packed. So really, it's not so much the most attendant. What we want to have is good game crowds. So I think both of those games, all 3 of those games are going to have good attended games and good game crowds.
Yeah, and let me piggyback of talking with Al Walsh. He said they expecting between 70 and 75,000. because the state fair is open. It's also the first day of the state fair, and they're expecting 400,000 people to walk through the gate.
Jeez. Well, they pulled 75,000. Good for them.
Yeah.
That's incredible. He gonna
Coach, he asked you about, do you stick with the run game when you're running as well as Prairie View?
Well, I mean, you do what makes you win, and what making Prairie View win is the run game. You just kind of got to do what the game kind of tells you to do, and always center your team or your offense around your personnel. Don't center your offense around what you like and what you think you should do. Like you said, I like to pass, but the championship I actually won was one that we ran the football. When I was at Tennessee State, we started off throwing the football, but we were able to do both well. I think we averaged almost 400 yards a game. So, you do what it takes to win football games. Like I always tell Rocky and Campbell, it's an egotistical game. And because a lot of people ask, why the coaches do this? Why the coaches do that? If he ain't doing the right thing, because there's the wrong thing, there's the thing to the left, and there's the right thing down the middle. And you always got to try to do what's right, not try to be right, but do what's right. And that's rather put these kids in the right situation to make plays, not the play that you think should work.
And the question he asked me about Andrew Body, I think Andrew is a sensational player. I watched him as a freshman at TSU. I watched him as a sophomore almost win the SWAC West. And I thought he was in a situation at TSU where the coach put him in a position to try to win by himself. And I always wondered what it would be like if he had a team around him. Well, unfortunately, he left TSU, went to Alabama State, and I was anticipating real big things last year being on Alabama State. Unfortunately, he got hurt, or probably more accurately, he went there not fully healed. And he got the treatment, the medical treatment that he needed. He made a full recovery, and Andrew Body is exactly who we thought he was.
On a count of three, if you at home with me. 1, 2, 3. Andrew Body!
So he's that guy, and I believe he's that guy. He's a Texas guy, and so if you don't know by now, I ride with Texas guys. So, yeah, I like Andrew Body.
And you don't like Jackson State quarterback no matter what they do.
No, I love Shador. What are you talking about? My all-time favorite. What do you mean? Shador is my guy.
Shador in the pros, man.
No. Again, let me tell you this. I like Jacoby and Morgan, but I like him in a system where he's not throwing the ball 30 times a game. I like him to do some QB. Coach, you love that QB power, don't you, Coach? It can make a quarterback a star, can't it, Coach?
Oh, yeah.
And then, Coach, they got something called a power pass, don't they, Coach?
That's right. Off the edge. Play action pass, faking up through the A gap, fullback slide in the flat, tight end block down, come off, run what you call a bend route. You got 3 options: tight end, back, or just run it in.
Yeah,
hey, Rocky, I tell you this, Rocky. Let me ask you a question. Now, see, I'm gonna put my Jackson hat on. How many of the other coaches, minus A&M, because we can guarantee he wouldn't change, would not work as their starting quarterback? And Andrew. Did you hear my question?
No, you kind of broke up. Go ahead.
How many of the other SWAC teams would die to have Jacoby and Morgan as the starting quarterback other than A&M and Alabama State?
Oh, I mean, everybody would, especially Southern. Hey, we got a caller. Your last 3, 602. Caller, you're on the line. 0602. You're live on HBCU
Hello?
Coaches Corner. What's your name and where you calling from? Listen to us on the phone. Not.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, listen to us on the phone though. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm listening on the phone. I just can't hear playback, so I can't tell if y'all can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you if you
On
listen
the
to
phone,
us
I
on
can't
the.
hear, but no, I'm Sharif. I'm calling from Houston, Texas.
Hey, bro, we hear you just fine. Just talk.
No, actually, I just wanted to say I'm Craig. I just wanted to say I'm Craig Hall's little brother, man, and I appreciate your what you spoke about him a few weeks ago when he first passed, and that meant a lot. I'm trying not to cry now because it was so all of a sudden, but I appreciate you truly. And also, I got a question about Drew, my little cousin. So, I'm saying when. I'm a positive thinker. When he beats Jackson and FAMU, do y'all see him possibly leaving, or should I say, a FBS school rolling out the red carpet, or do y'all see him being drafted from ASU not as a 7th round pick, but something higher? What do y'all think about that?
Well, first off, let me say this, Sharia. Condolences to you and your family, man. Craig was a great guy. I talked to him on a number of occasions, and you knew what we talked about. We talked about HBCU football and specifically your cousin Drew. And so it was shocking to all of us to hear that he passed. And again, my condolences go out to you and your family, and I yield to Coach at this point.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I enjoyed him. I enjoyed the family, Andrew Body's dad and the family and the mother and yourself and whatever, everything that Craig stood for. He was a Texas Southern man too, so that's close to my heart. As far as Andrew Body's future, let him finish this year, and then we'll see, because he might not even be playing at Alabama State. If the draft was happening tomorrow, I would say no, he wouldn't get drafted, but he definitely would go free agent somewhere. He still got to put up the numbers. He still got to pass the litmus test. He still got to go to the combine. It's just so many things that he still has to do. He's just so much of a superb athlete. He's almost like a man among boys right now. I mean, the numbers that he's putting up is outstanding. I mean, he at this point he can't even play a whole game yet because he's doing so well in the first half. So we're not ready for that yet. Like again, with all this NIL and buying players across, like I said earlier, he might not even be playing for Alabama State next year. But of course, that's y'all choice of that. But I know that option, if he can stay healthy and keep where he at, then that'll be you guys' first choice, if he gonna stay at Alabama State or not. I'm just calling like it is. But I think he does have next level talent. He just don't have a lot of experience because he set 2 years out almost. So just let it come. One thing about the kid, he's a heck of a kid. I think anybody that talks to him and knows him personally, man, I mean, he has a personality that any man would want for a son, especially a son that can play football. So that's kind of where I am with him. I wish him all the luck. I wish praying for the family, praying for Craig's wife, who I had a time to sit down and talk with, man. She's a beautiful soul, and sometimes, the good Lord takes his angels just a little bit earlier than we think he should. But we all know that all good things and great things is in his hands.
Mr. Campbell?
Well, it's funny that you said that. Miss Body actually texted me, and Craig followed me on social media, spoke to him. So this is what's great about this. We're all family. And what's beautiful about this, we get introduced to Andrew and his family. We get to meet him. Now he's part of our family. Craig is part of our family. Talk to him. So that's what's great about this whole thing that we are. We can argue and things like that, but there are people in the chat not disagree. But I tell you what, if any one of them call me, they have my back, and vice versa. 99% of them. So I'm happy he's part of this HBCU family, and condolences. Now, what I want to say this, because again, me and my partner had a sports agency, and I would say this about Andrew. I would not tell him to leave. I would tell him to stay right at Alabama State, because the offense is tailored for him. Now, I understand the NIL and a lot of money. Now, money changes things. But I think one of the things, too, is about consistency, because the NFL wants to see you consistently do it. And I think one of the key things about him is he's able to go and have a big season next year in the SWAC and go a Steve McNair type season, a Willie Totten type season, then you get that. But if you go to, and this is usually a UAB, right? They give him $200,000 to come. UAB is not going to be a good team. And he struggles. And he's behind the chains. But if you can put up the big numbers and then put up 500-600 yards like Stephen McNair did, there's an opportunity. I think also, too, because of his intellect and his athletic, but he can play other positions. I can see him playing wide receiver if that's what he chooses to do. So I think there's options. But to me, if I was advising him, if the money was just so great, I would not tell him to leave, because I think that offense could be built, and I think he could have a really huge season at Alabama State.
You said if the money is so great, you wouldn't tell him to leave?
No, if the money's so great, then he's got to go. He's got to go. But I'll tell you this, though. See, money is all relative, because you take X amount of money, but if you go to a UAB and you regress, then your future earnings are already stalled.
So
and I'm using my example. If you stay, potentially have a Steve McNair type season, which is because look at his numbers trending, look at what he could then be. Then he can get drafted. So that's what my thing is. So yes. So yeah, the competition, but again, we've seen players come from our level. So, again, I think, because one thing about this, and I talked to a lot of scouts and things like that, I'd rather for him to play on a great HBCU team than a very bad low-level FBS team.
So here's my situation that I believe Andrew could find himself in. He plays great this year, wins a SWAC championship, Celebration Bowl, FCS All-American, and then a team like Tarleton, who has a FCS, a graduate quarterback, needs to reload, and they look at Andrew as a potential replacement for their quarterback. I don't think Tarleton or North Alabama or UAB offers enough. And I'm not talking about money here. I'm talking about just an opportunity, enough for him to leave and go play for Tarleton or Sam Houston or any of those other schools. If the University of Texas comes for Andrew,
well, of course,
then he got to go. But I wouldn't leave for a directional school or a non-HBCU just for a few $1,000s, when what Andrew is going to have, what I believe Andrew is going to have after playing the next 2 years in the SWAC, he's going to have legendary status in the SWAC. And to me, that's worth more than $40,000 or $50,000 or $60,000, which is pretty much all they could offer at another FCS program.
And Rocky, let me say one other thing too. And here's the thing. Goes back to, like I said, those directional schools. The visibility that he's going to get by playing in the SWAC, he's going to get it. His name is going to be ringing bells, stats, and things like that. I've never been again, and we've seen this. We've seen kids leave, and they didn't go be All-Americans at the other schools. They just haven't. But you had kids, if they would have probably stayed, probably had a better shot.
Let's look at Eric Phoenix, a guy who went somewhere when he left Chennisberry, didn't pan out. I think Murray State is where he went. Outside.
Yeah.
And then he came back with Chennisberry at South Carolina State. Potentially had an opportunity to win a Celebration Bowl. Just think what he would have, just think what he could have accomplished with Chennisberry at Benedict had he stayed and played that year they went to the playoffs. I just look at it like this here. I just look at it like this. Where Andrew is on the cusp of being legendary, a legendary SWAC player, based on what he did at TSU and what he's embarking on at Alabama A&M. I don't think you gamble with legendary status for a few dollars. Cause if you're legendary, that means you platinum. Steve McNair, if he was living, could walk in any stadium in the HBCU space and go to the press box with no problem. You understand? Because of who he is. I think Bruce Eugene, Devontae Kincaid, all those gentlemen that have that status, who have done great things at this level, have a lure and appeal that's second to none. And I don't think if Bruce Eugene had went to Tarleton, I don't think he would be recognized as a legend, to be honest with you. What say you, Mr. Campbell? Mr. Campbell and Coach Cole. If Bruce Eugene goes to Tarleton, if he goes to Sam Houston, is he recognized as who he is?
No, but I want EA saying that go get the money. See, you didn't listen to what I said. There's two types of money. There's short-term money versus long-term money. And my point of it is about development. Where is he going to be able to be developed? To Rocky's point, him going to a directional school that's one level up, like a UAB, is not going to develop him. It'll be able to buy him a nice car, and he'll have a check for a hot second. My point of it is development, where people see consistency, and you're doing big games. I'm telling you what I know for a fact, and you do big games, and you put up big numbers, where people say, let me take a look at this kid. When this kid is going to SWAC, he's doing 300, 400, 500 yards of offense every week. Let's bring him in and let's see what we do. Compared to being at UAB, where they're going to be 1-10, 2-11, and struggle. That's my point.
Coach, I want to ask you: did Steve McNair win a title?
No, he didn't win the SWAC that year.
No.
I don't think they won the SWAC. No, they didn't win the SWAC that year.
Is he legendary?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
What number, guys? What number would say go?
I say
Is
2
it the school? Is it the school we go to, or is it the amount of money?
It's both, right? Because let's again.
No. Y'all just said UAB, whatever. If they
that's what I'm saying. It depends, because if it's a school, he's in the SEC footprint. If somebody from the SEC says, hey, because he's automatically gonna get paid $200,000.
He's an hour away from Auburn. If he makes so much noise as a SWAC quarterback, and he gets on Auburn's radar, what can they offer him, Coach?
Well, he's gonna get or you gotta stand.
I'm asking y'all what number.
I can answer that question.
Is it the number or is it the school?
Well, I'm going to say this. The school, because
it's going to dictate the number.
It's going to dictate the number. Because automatically, because in the SEC, he's automatically you guys say that they're moving where everybody gets paid. So at Auburn, he's going to get $180,000 guaranteed. That's just from Auburn.
Y'all heard of a school called Sacramento State University?
Yes.
And they got huge NIL.
Yeah. A lot of people ain't heard of Sacramento State University. And they got big time money. I don't know. What's the number? I don't know
the bond, and this is why I always be respectful. I'm never gonna count another man's money. Because you know what I'm saying? Some people can take 10,000 and make it $1 million, and some people don't care about 10,000.
Coach, you've been there. What could Alabama State come up with? Because I think that matters.
50,000, probably 25,000, somewhere in there. You know.
So you mean for Andrew Body, the only thing Alabama State can come up with is $2,000 a month?
Probably.
Wow.
Probably. You know.
Well, Rocky, okay, so not to get too deep in the weeds. Here's the problem. And I think the only school that really has a good grasp, because remember this when it comes to money. is who you ask for the money, right? The only school that has confidence and trust of when they ask for money as of right now is Jackson State. So if let's just say if that was Jackson State, right? And they had Andrew Body. Ken and them got all them people. They got that NIL going. They got all those fans. If they thought it was worth it, Ken and them probably could come up with $50,000. It's no doubt in my mind. Because they done came up with some for people way less, and I know that for a fact. So to that point, that's what the problem is. So when you say Alabama State, now Alabama State has now got cost of attendance. They're one of the few schools that are now doing that, right? So that's already some money. Then you got to go to the point what Coach is saying is who are your boosters and guys that have not been given money like that. Now you're gonna come and say, give me $50,000. They're like, man, I ain't gave y'all $50,000 ever in my life.
Yeah.
But now let me flip it with FAMU. And here's the thing. We were about to give Willie $500,000. You hear what I'm saying? Rocky without a blink. And nobody, because he was worth the money. And I knew the people, not counting the people that were part of me, that was going to put that money up. $500,000 for a SWAC coach.
Yeah. If the money came in, damn the school. I say, son, go take the money.
Yeah.
Because the NFL is not guaranteed.
Can't argue that.
I would say it's got to be a good substantial amount. It's got to be in the six-figure mark.
Oh, well, that's guaranteed, Coach. That's guaranteed. If somebody's going to come get him, he'll get that.
I wouldn't go nowhere for about $50,000. I would bet on me myself that I could make some NFL team, and I know for a fact he could play in Canada with his eyes closed. He'll be a hell of a Canadian quarterback up there.
Now, but what do y'all think about my contention that Andrew's potentially playing something for something that money can't buy?
Well, I think. Well, let me tell you something, man. And right, I agree. Well, status, happiness,
everything is for sale.
but Coach, I'm gonna tell you something. Rocky, to me, when you said it, I understood it. I give you an example. We know Andrew. Andrew went down there. He pledged a fraternity. You see what I'm saying? He's enjoying his life. A lot of people love him. His coach respects him. He is a superstar in SWAC already. That means something.
Now they taking care of him at Alabama State. It might not be done what you think or what you want. I didn't really want to go there. He been taken care of. Now I worked there before. Now he's been taken care of. Let's get that straight. But if somebody coming in them six figures, Coach, I'm gonna shake everybody's hand and hug. I'm gonna explain this to you. But Coach, I'm gonna say this again. Does he? Okay, and I get it. I'm not arguing your point because, like I say, never count money. But if it's UAB, a team that you know is not going to be good and it's going to regress you. So let's say UAB gives him 100,000. We're going to give you 100,000. But he regresses where he's not playing. He's on his back all the time. Is that worth it? 100,000 in this game?
And he's on his back and he does nothing.
Well, we don't, of course, we don't know that coming out the block. All we know what's real I can put my hands on is them 100,000.
No, well, we know UAB is not going to win no 10 games either.
Yeah. Do you really think that him going to the next level will be based off of him winning or losing games?
Well, what I mean by that, well, hold on, no. I'm about to answer that. It's about being consistent and putting up big numbers. And it's the same. That's how Steve McNair, Coach. That's how Steve McNair put up big numbers. Consistent. That's what people are like. Wait, this sucker just threw up 600 yards.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I think it's different eras now, Coach. I think you own to something. Don't get me wrong. I think it's different eras now because I mean, look at Brock Purdy at the San Francisco 49ers. I think Andrew Body, of course, his arm is stronger. Of course, he can extend plays. It comes down to his intellect. I think the more coordinators he be under, the more he can understand the game a lot better. He's been at Texas Southern, now Alabama State, and maybe going somewhere else. One of the things that's happening to Shedeur Sanders right now is that the kid that they have in front of him actually played for the coordinator. So in that case, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm keeping the guy that has played under my system. You know what I mean? Because he knows my system a lot better. You know, so that's what I'm saying about Body. I think what he's doing this year, I think this, and if he could finish out, Coach, strong, like, Coach, this kid went 14 for 16, 200-some yards, and 4 TDs and a half.
Yeah,
First game,
you know,
5 TDs,
but listen,
300 yards.
Let me get on my
He's doing interception.
Let me get on my SWAC. Let me get on my SWAC soapbox.
Okay.
He ain't played FAMU. He ain't played Jackson State. Okay, so
You
he start
think
playing
those
them.
schools can beat UAB?
Well, Coach, listen, I'm gonna say
I
this
just
again.
asked.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna say this again. Until he gets in them games and does that, because to Paris's point, now I'm gonna go with Paris. Say, you got to win them games. You got to win them games. Because he goes and okay, Coach, let me ask you a question. He comes down to FAMU on Saturday and they lose. He goes down to Jackson
and he
and
throws
they
4
lose.
touchdowns and rush for 100 yards. And
Well, that's
yards,
but now you're going to my
lose.
Steve McNair point. You keep saying what? See, thank you. You're going to my Steve. So it's either the numbers, but my point of it is he's got to win those games too, because if he doesn't win those games, then he's not putting up those numbers more likely. That's my point.
I mean,
did you hear what Doug Williams said on our show? That he don't see 15 quarterbacks or how many quarterbacks he don't see, and he ranking Body one of some of the best that he's seen.
I'm not arguing that, but what I'm saying is you make your hay when you play the best teams in your conference also. That's why this game is so important.
Where you're missing the point where my mind is how he's going to be drafted. And I don't think his draft will be according on wins and losses.
Well, no, I didn't say that either.
But the kid going to put up numbers.
Yeah. I'm saying again, when you look back, when you're looking at the great players that have come out of the SWAC, those measurements have come against, again, teams that they said, again, I understand the UAB, but to be great, it's a level of consistency, and you measure yourself. It's not going to be, unfortunately, against a down Southern team. It's going to be measured against Jackson State. It's going to be measured against FAMU. Going to be measured against Alabama A&M. It is.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say this, and, I think that kid can come play for me at the Fees Middle School. Because Coach, he can do it both ways, man. If the pocket collapse, he gonna get out of there and go.
I don't think anybody's down there. I'm just giving the other side of the argument of what people are going to look at. So let's see, this is what, again, I always want to be clear. Look, Andrew's my nephew. Like I said, again, I literally just text his mama. We gonna be hanging out at the game. I want him to do well, and I want FAMU to win. I want both things to happen. You see what I'm saying? He can go to 700 yards, as long as we 1 point better. That's all that counts.
Hey, he did. Hey, look, I won't be surprised. Shit, if he'd have stayed in last week's game, the whole game, shit, he'd have had 600.
Well, I just know as a Andrew Body fan and somebody who really, not only appreciates him as a young man, who really thinks his story since leaving high school is remarkable. He was tremendously under-recruited as being the third all-time leading passer in the state of Texas, got an opportunity to play at TSU, and from day one at TSU, they put him in a ball game. He was able to deliver.
Against Baylor.
Right here in Waco.
He put numbers up at Texas Southern, who in 5 years won 12 games. And we still talking about Andrew Body. Am I right, Rocky? He played at Texas Southern, won 12 games. 12. And he was the quarterback of some of those. And his numbers. But, hey, we'll see, man. Of course, we all wish the best for him.
Absolutely. And personally, I'm rooting for him to stay in the SWAC, finish out his career in the SWAC. Yeah. But if he does what I think he's capable of, I think there are going to be other opportunities available for him.
We all selfish. We want him to stay with us. I like to see him every week.
See, this is what y'all talking about. This is
no bad team.
See, this is what he talking about. He talking about Rice, not Baylor. If you watched him play Rice, you were late. You were late.
Yes.
I'm talking about Baylor.
We talking to Baylor Bears.
We talking about Baylor. The game was not televised. It was not streamed, but we saw it.
Right. Well, I'm talking about Baylor, my man.
Go look it up. There are highlights of it. He came in the game like the second and third quarter, and he got busy.
Yes, sir. Yes, he did. I was right there in the stands.
Yeah. So let's not we know what we talking about, Calvin. So that's nice, but we know what we talking about.
But I'm like Campbell. I'm like you, man. I'm selfish. I would love for him to stay in HBCU. But if you get the money and go like Prime got the money, man, you got to go get money.
Well, like I said, what my point of it is I'm saying this from a business standpoint. Just make sure the money matches the situation. That makes sense.
Now let me ask you. Let me ask you this here. At the University of Texas, if Sark come to him and say, "Hey Andrew, I want you to know that Arch is our guy, but for $600,000, can you be an insurance policy for Arch?"
Ooh. I mean, so wait a minute. So here's the thing about when you hear about great players, right? They say they'll play for. So as a competitor, right? Because we know no matter what happens, because I'm gonna use let's not play no game. I'm gonna play your game. He's never getting in front of Arch Manning no matter what happens because of policy, right?
Yes.
You tell him as a competitor, why would he want to sit and just watch?
Because I'm gonna take them 600.
Yeah,
and I'm playing in the SEC. And I'm playing in the SEC. And I know
you're not playing. You're not playing. You're watching. You're watching for 600.
And the people, I'm still Andrew Body. I'm still running 4.5. I still could throw that damn thing, that dig, that out, that go route. And I'm rested for a whole year.
And you have no tape because you ain't played.
And I'm playing, and I'm in Sarkisian's offense.
Well, no, you're not because you're not playing.
But shit, I practice every day.
Okay. Hey, listen.
Come on. I'm just simply saying those are the dilemmas that Andrew can find himself in.
Okay, one thing about and
you know this though. Can I say one thing? You know this. Like when these guys have these great teams, Alabama, USC, University of Miami, it's guys that get drafted that don't even hardly play. They get pro contracts.
Coach, do you know how many quarterbacks that have got drafted? Because I'll give you a perfect example. So this is what I'm talking about. And this is what I'm saying. We're talking fantasy numbers. That's why I'm saying, of course, in fantasy, 600,000. But I'm going to give you a perfect example. Joe Burrow was up at Ohio State.
Yes,
he couldn't crack the lineup. He got the hell on and became the first pick and won the Heisman. Playing makes a difference. So he could stay at Ohio State and got all the money. To Rocky's point, let's just stay at Ohio State. Let's just sit behind these guys.
No. You got to understand, Joe Burrow wasn't going to play.
If we're going to take that scenario.
But what I'm saying is Andrew is going to get the 600 because of how he played. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
What I'm saying is, but I'm trying to tell you, guys want to play. And that's why a lot of these quarterbacks have gotten, because they moved from behind somebody. I can get 4 players right now because they moved from behind who they were, got drafted as quarterbacks. I'm just saying. But anyway, we're playing a game that.
I just threw that out there to see, just to see what you guys thought about that. Because again, with Andrew, you got to understand, with Andrew being the kind of player he is, and being at an FCS or HBCU, they may play the money game just to acquire the talent. You understand? Not play the talent, just to acquire the talent.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna play your game for 30 seconds. Hold on, let me see something real quick. Give me 30 seconds because I want to see something.
Okay.
All right. Last question. We gonna get on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just give me one. Just give me one second. I want to say everybody wants to play this game.
But why you finding that dude? There's
okay. So wait. So Rocky. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna play your game, right? I say you say he goes to let's play my scenario. He goes to X school for 600,000, right? He doesn't play at all. Okay, he does and plays just as well gets a free agent contract because he actually played like Shador and gets $4 million. See, I can play that game with you.
Oh, yeah. No. The pro money doesn't compare. Let's not even talk about that.
Now?
The pro money is no comparison.
I'm making the case of why he stays. So I'm playing the game. He stays, he plays well, he becomes a free agent because he actually played, put up crazy numbers, and he gets a free agent contract, he makes $4 million. Compared to him not ever playing and don't get it. See, we can do the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's all. I mean, it's all jokes and stuff like that.
There's a lot of quarterbacks who actually plays in college football and making that money that don't even get drafted, don't even get an opportunity to go.
So
that's why I say take the money.
You probably were an agent back then, Campbell. You remember this guy named Matt Castle?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you don't have to play to get drafted, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, but you see what? Hold on. Okay, let me tell you something about Matt Castle. And the whole thing was, he got on a team, played, got that free agent money. I'm talking about a guy that's in the SWAC, compared and playing. So again, we all know, like I said, we all know it. We know the money. Take the money.
Yeah. Hey guys, man, this has been an awesome show, Coach. I'm gonna let you take us out of here, man.
Yeah. Man, hey guys, appreciate it, man. I'm kind of embarrassed. I really just found out how I can get in the comments. So I'll be making comments. Guys, thank you all for what's going on. I look forward to going to the Dallas State Fair Classic. If you want to see a good matchup, it's going to be a great matchup. Man, life is great. Life is good. And really, life is what you make it. I tell my children all the time, it's about the choices you make it. Stand on it. But if you find yourself at the end of the rope, you tie a knot and you hold on tight. Because ain't nobody bad like you.
This year, we're keeping it 100. The 100th Anniversary State Fair Classic, Saturday, September 27th at the world's largest fair. Enjoy the Southern Soul pregame concert on the Chevy main stage. Then Grambling State versus Prairie View A&M. The halftime show, the world-famed versus the Marching Storm. And the post-game concert, TLC, at State Fair Classic. Tickets at Ticketmaster and all usual ticket outlets.